Rhetoric podcast.
Welcome, Amber Alert Podcast, episode 64. I am your host, Amber Starkey, and it is, as you know, I'm going to say, a great day to be alive. Well, what is today? Friday. So happy Friday. Hope your weekend is off to a great start. I've got no complaints over here. Again, kind of the same as it's been for the last couple of weeks. Nothing huge going on in the news, at least I don't think. Nothing that's like shaking the entire country, you know? So I tried to grab a little bit less news because I don't want the news portion to take nearly as long as I've been trying to grab less news, and it's still taking an hour. So I'm going to do my best to get through it as quickly as I can. And then we're going to listen to this lady's testimony where she actually saw and had an encounter with an angel who came to help her in a serious time of need. So it's very interesting because I love to listen to people's stories when they have supernatural encounters. However, more often than not, they're negative. It's almost always someone sharing a story of how they saw a demon or they wrestled with one or something. It's almost always like evil. You don't hear as many stories of people encountering angels. And so I like those stories a lot because it reminds you of scripture, that they're ministering spirits. They're here to help us. And that, the Lord is looking out for you. And there are times He will send help when you need it. So we'll look at her story. And then when we get into the Bible, I want to talk about the subject of apathy, which is, I guess, essentially kind of the same thing as lukewarmness. Or at least if you are like that, those things kind of make you the same, like as far as what you do and things that you don't do. So I want to talk about that because that is an important subject, especially in the times in which we're living. If you're familiar with the Bible, there are 7. Oh, shoot. I forgot about Instagram. Let me see if this is going to work. There are 7 letters to 7 churches in the book of Revelation, which are, those represent the 7 church ages. Of course, there's one church age, like the church age, which is what was kicked off in the New Testament, which we're still currently in. We're still in the church age, of the church is still here. But there are 7 distinct ages within the church age. So the last one, the 7th one, which is the one we are currently in, is a letter to Laodicea, which of course was a real place, but it also holds lessons that are applicable to us today. All of them do. But I'm saying that is the church age that we're living in. And so there is something kind of specific that Jesus is addressing with the church in Laodicea, which is, of course, applicable to us today. So I want to get into that because it has everything to do with apathy and whatnot. So without further ado, let's get going with the news. Okay, this is just ridiculous. So here's this poster of Sydney Sweeney about having great genes. And then, of course, a bunch of people got upset because they're taking it as a racial statement, like a play on the word genes. And they actually mean it as, GENES. Because they're saying it's because she's white and has blue eyes. Oh, this is Hitler. This is Nazism and blah, blah, blah. So this lady got mad. There is her flipping a double bird at the ad. And she said, Black women have good genes. We are the blueprint. Remember that, you ash-filled buckets. Which is kind of a racist thing to say, in my opinion. Here's the thing, though. Having good genes is not indicative of any particular race, okay? In every race of people, you have people that, it may not sound nice to say, but there are people that are better looking than other people in every race. So if you say, for example, look at Halle Berry. She's mixed, right? Anyone who's not a gay dude or whatever would look at her and be like, wow, she has really good genetics. She has good genes. Why? Because she's attractive, right? So it has nothing to do with her race or her skin color or the texture of her hair or her eye color. It has everything to do with just being an attractive person. And so I don't know why people are making this about race, but there has been, like I said, there are just people of every race that I would look at and be like, wow, they've got great genetics, because they're just well put together, good looking people. Doesn't have to be any particular race. I could go through and name people that I would say have good genes that are every race imaginable. And it's not the skin color. But this is just further evidence that there's a racial divide in this country, thanks to the mainstream media. They want to pit people against each other. And like we see with that lady there, it apparently has worked on a lot of people. Thank God, though, there are plenty of people who've not fallen for it. They're like, I don't care what someone's race is. They're a fellow human being, and I would take a bullet for them if the situation called for it. So it restores your faith in humanity when you see people of different races who get along and treat each other as just human beings, which is how it should be. But instead, you have, people doing stuff like that. And anytime you read comments, which of course, sometimes we don't know that something isn't a bot, but oftentimes you read comments and you're like, I think you're kind of a racist. And I've seen it come from all sides, like every kind, white people, black people, Hispanic. I mean, I'm like, I think you're like, either you're leaving a comment to get attention or you're a little bit racist. So it's all over, but not as common as the media wants you to think. Anyway, I thought that was stupid. Next. Man arrested for shooting at seagull that took his funnel cake in Atlantic City. I just want to say he did absolutely nothing wrong. If I was trying to eat a funnel cake that I just bought and some seagull came and plucked it, I would also want to open fire and shoot it down, because I would be that mad. So I think that he should be released and there should be no fine or anything, because I understand, and they should catch the bird and kill the bird and let him out. Next. ISIS soldiers behead Christians in Mozambique, burning church and homes, silent genocide. Yeah, it's amazing how you have not heard about this. This report came out yesterday. I don't even know what Mozambique is. Is that a country? Where is it if it's a country? I'm not very good with geography. I realized I know next to nothing. I don't know how I passed in school because I had no idea that Russia was close to Alaska. I didn't know Canada was close to whatever the thing is that's up there. I didn't know. I did not know. I don't know where anything is. So I don't know if that's a country or not, but that's awful. Regardless of where this is, that is awful. And it's amazing how the media doesn't want to talk about it because it's Christians who are being murdered. They will talk about it when it's any other religion, pretty much, but not Christians. Next. Popular Spanish town bans Muslim festivals in public spaces. Spain will be forever Christian. Look at Spain making a stand. I was actually surprised when I saw this because I thought Spain had gone like just about full-blown communist. Maybe it was during COVID. I'm not sure, but I thought I remembered hearing something about Spain where I was like, who would ever want to go there? But maybe, you know what? Maybe they were going to be like, yeah, like pretty much open borders, blah, blah, blah. And now they're seeing what happens when you do that and they don't want it anymore. So they're like, you know what? We've had enough. So way to go, Spain. I see them pushing back. All the more power to ya. Next. Breaking, New York City opens a $65 million taxpayer-funded shelter, Ace's Place, exclusively for LGBTQ. Is this legal under Fair Housing Act or discriminatory? Thoughts? Okay. I don't know if it's legal or not, but here's what bothers me about it. The whole LGBTQ crowd, you know, this whole like kind of movement, not that there haven't always been gay people, obviously there have, but the whole movement kind of started because they were like, we just want equality. We just want to be treated like everyone else. So if that's the case, then why do you get special housing? If you want to be just like everybody else, then why don't you live mingled in with everybody else? Why is there a specific place that's set apart for just your group, right? That sounds like you're trying to be set apart. You're not trying to be like everyone else. So what do you actually want? Do you want special treatment? Because that's basically how it's gone, is you've been coddled. You've been, anyone dares to say anything, they're homophobic and they're a bigot and kill them, all this stuff. So it's like, do you actually want to blend in and just have equality, or do you want to stand out and have certain things handed to you that other people can't have? Because that's the trend that we've seen, is that you're getting preferential treatment. You're not getting equal treatment. So that's why that's dumb. But again, it's New York City. So what do you expect? Again, I don't know what the law is. I don't know if that's legal or not. But even if it's not, it's amazing how they could just get away with stuff like that because it's for gay people. But I bet if you did one, hey, this is Christian only housing, you would get sued, you'd get threatened, you might get murdered, someone would burn your family's homes down. You would have all kind of lawsuits because there would be gay people. It's like the bakeries. They would like intentionally go find a Christian bakery and say, we want you to bake a cake for a gay wedding. And the Christian was like, well, that actually violates like my code of ethics or whatever, my religious beliefs. So I don't want to do that. What happened? They got sued. But I guarantee, why didn't the gay people go find a Muslim bakery? Hey, we want you to bake us a cake for a gay wedding. And the Muslims were like, that actually violates our religious beliefs. There wouldn't have been lawsuits. It's only because it's Christian. So that's not fair or equal. But that's about what you get from the left, because it's just bottomless hypocrisy that, after years, I don't know how they can't see it yet. But it takes a special kind of blindness to not be able to tell that you're hypocritical to that extent. Next. Breaking, aliens may be real, says DNI, that is Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, vows to share the truth. Oh, Tulsi, you are moving in the right direction. The next step for her. Okay, here's the thing. I don't believe aliens are real. I actually had someone, I don't think she was trying to argue, but she just had a difference of opinion in a comment. Like some girl said, there's the spiritual, and then there's the otherworldly. And I thought, no, they're one and the same. Because if you're going to believe in the spiritual, then you're going to believe angels and demons, like the Bible shows us. And then you're going to have to, if you're saying otherworldly, then you're having to come up with, now there's a third source. And they're not evil or good. They're just their own thing. I don't believe that. I can't find evidence for that in my Bible. So everything that is supernatural comes from one of two sources. It's either of the Almighty God or it's of the devil. There is no in between. There's not some third party that's like harmless. I don't believe that is a thing. So that's the thing. If you're going to accept, here's the thing. If you have to be either extremely ignorant or willfully stupid to believe that there is not, like, that UFOs are actually a thing. It has been an ongoing thing since, I mean, I don't even know when. At least I can't even give you an origin point. I was going to say the 1900s, but it's like, I don't even know. Way older than that, I'm sure. So something's going on. And here's the thing. If something is going on, then it kind of demands investigation. It kind of demands an answer. So you can either be like, well, that makes me uncomfortable. I don't want to know what it's about. You can take that position if you want to. I don't want to do that. I would rather deal with reality and figure out what is going on. And so if you're willing to face it, okay, something's going on. What do we think it is? That's where the Bible comes in for me. I think every question I have concerning life, concerning, of course, the physical, but also the supernatural, all the answers are found in the Bible. And I can't find evidence in the Bible of some extraterrestrial intelligent race that's kind of like humans, but not quite. When you read the Bible, everything has to do with earth and human beings. And then there's, of course, a battle for our souls, right? The Lord wants us to live forever. The devil wants us all in hell. So that's it, cut and dried. So if you're seeing something that is supernatural, it demands an answer. And if you do believe the Bible, it's got to have one of two sources. It's either from God or it's from the devil. And given what happens when UFOs show up and when aliens show up, it's abductions, it's assault, it's pregnancies, and then another abduction. It's God doesn't just kidnap people against their will, or angels don't, and then especially violate them. No, you cannot tell me this thing is of God. So that means you have one other option. What are we looking at? Oh, there is a devil and he already hates people. So would we put it past him? No, he's the author of leukemia, of cancer ward, kids dying in cancer wards, destroying their families. He's the author of rape. He's the author of so I think it's actually a very easy answer to this whole thing. Now you can question, why are they showing up? What are they doing? How is this great revealing going to happen? I don't know. I think if in fact the rapture happens before the tribulation, which I do think scripturally that is the most sound position, is the pre-trib rapture. If that in fact happens, then that creates an atmosphere of chaos, of confusion, fear, people groping for truth. Why are there millions of people gone? You get a little, which of course they've made Left Behind movies, but you also get a little bit of a picture of what it looks like. If you've ever seen the Marvel movies, I forget which one it is. I don't think is it Infinity War, when they all disappear, and then maybe it's an Endgame when it kind of shows the aftermath of it. I don't remember. But it's kind of, you get a little picture of it like that. It's like people are, where is everyone? What happened? So people will be like that. So then that's prime time for this great revealing. Oh, hey, it was us. We plucked those people out of the way. There's a shift coming to the earth. Humanity is ready for the next step in their evolution. Those people didn't fit. And so, work with us. We're here to help you. In fact, we created you. And now here we come to usher you into the next, whatever is coming next. So that is the only explanation I am aware of that checks every box and that aligns with the Bible. Everything else, I just don't think is right. I really don't. So anyway, Tulsi, back to the original thing that we were reading, is, what did she say again? Let me pop it back up. Aliens may be real. I see what you're saying. Again, something is going on. Something is there. I just don't believe they're aliens, but she's moving in the right direction. Next. Breaking, Ryan Anthony Wayant, I don't know how to say it, the former CEO of an LGBTQ plus real estate organization, charged with possession of child porn. Oh, what a surprise. I can't believe a sexually deviant person would also be into kids. How shocking. He allegedly downloaded thousands of images of child, I don't even want to say it. The thing that never happens again. That's right. So he was CEO of a gay real estate organization. So that's another example. Imagine starting a real estate organization and you're like, hey, this is for Christians only. We only work with Christians buying. We only work with Christians selling. You would get sued into oblivion because there'd be a gay person or a Muslim or somebody who's an atheist or whatever. I hate that you're leaving me out and I'm discriminated against because I can't use this company to sell my house. It's amazing how you could find a million other real estate agencies or organizations that would sell your house, but you just want to pick the one that doesn't align with how you want to live your life. Very interesting. Next. Okay, so this guy shot up an army base in Georgia. This just happened like yesterday, maybe the day before. So he shot 5 soldiers. Now they are all stable. I think a couple of them had surgery, so no casualties. That's the shooter right there. I forget what his name is. Anyway, pretty sure he was apprehended. I don't know what his situation is. I don't know if he has some kind of, because he's in the army. He was a sergeant. So I don't know if he's got some kind of PTSD or if he had a bone to pick with one person there on the base. I really do not know. That is an awful thing to do to your fellow soldiers, people who are supposed to be your brothers. You know, they wear the same uniform you do. Not that it's okay to shoot anybody, but like the fact that he was literally currently in the military and was like, you know what, I'm gonna like try to kill other people in the military. Like, I don't know. I'm sure as time goes on, we'll figure out the motive, but that is awful. Glad he's been apprehended. Next. Illegals will not be counted in the census. This is a big dub. So from DJT himself, I have instructed our Department of Commerce to immediately begin work on a new and highly accurate census based on modern day facts and figures and, importantly, using the results and information gathered from the presidential election of 2024. People who are in our country illegally will not be counted in the census. I love how he ends it with, thank you for your attention to this matter. That's like what you see in a bathroom when they're like, please don't flush anything but toilet paper down the toilet. Thank you for your attention to this matter. He's like signing off like it's not a big deal. It is a big deal. And it is awesome because that is unconstitutional. You can't vote in federal elections unless you are a legitimate legal citizen of this country. You cannot vote. It is insane that he would even have to do anything to make sure that gets followed. But here we are. If Democrats had their way, you would have millions and millions of illegals voting in elections simply because they're going to vote for Democrats, because Democrats are the ones who are letting them be here illegally and are giving them taxpayer money and phones and places to live. So this is a scheme to try to steal elections, which we all said was going to happen when Biden had the border wide open. We all said this is to influence the outcome of the election. Like, we literally knew. And here we are. Conspiracy theories are undefeated at this point. Speaking of that, crazy how conspiracy theorists have a better chance of being right than actual journalists. Yes, Illuminati bot. That is because journalists, not all of them, but many of them are not after the truth. They are writing and reporting what they're told. And then conspiracy theorists are people who do not follow the mainstream narrative and they actually think for themselves. So that's why they're actually right. Former professional MMA fighter Ben Askren says when he woke up after being in a coma for 45 days, he immediately decided to become a Christian after refusing for 15 years. Askren says he passed away 4 times while in the hospital for a double lung transplant. Wow, he passed away 4 times. I woke up and I became a Christian. I went with my wife to church for 15 years because that was part of the deal. I said, I'm not a Christian, but I'll support you. So she was dragging him. He didn't want to go, but out of, not wanting to upset his wife, it looks like he went. And he said it was really weird. When I woke up, I'm like, I got to do it. Amazing. It is crazy what a near-death experience will do to somebody, even who had the hardest of hearts. There's a guy by the name of Mickey Robinson. Pretty sure he's still around. When I was very little, I'm talking like 5 years old and younger, we went to the same church as him. And he wrote a book called Falling to Heaven. You can still find it online and buy it. So he says in the book he was a very attractive young man and he was super arrogant. And he was in a plane and the plane crashed. And it's a miracle he survived the crash. He had burns all over his body. Even when I remember him, half of his face was like, you could tell he was a burn victim on one side of his face. I remember that. Again, I was very young, but he was in the hospital and he had a near-death experience. If I remember correctly, the way he described it is, it's like there was, if you're shutting a door and there's light outside, and the more you shut the door, the smaller the light gets until eventually it's gone because the door's closed. So he said that was what it looked like. He was laying there, almost dying, and he saw this darkness and a little bit of light, and this darkness was like a door closing and the light was disappearing. And he said he cried out to God, and then suddenly the light rushed back in and the darkness was eradicated, and he went on to give his life to the Lord, and then he went into ministry. And last I heard, I believe he is in Nashville, Tennessee, at the same church where Michael W. Smith is, the Christian singer. So he has a very interesting story if you would like to read about it. Again, the book, I'm pretty sure, is called Falling to Heaven. So it's interesting. You can run from God and not want anything to do with him, but as soon as you come face to face with death, all of a sudden it's like, am I ready to find out what's going to happen when I die? No, I'm really not. Next. Insane. U.S. tariff revenue hit a record $29.6 billion in July. They have brought in over $100 billion so far this year. The experts were wrong. Trump was right. Tariffs work. Yeah, I mean, everybody was saying this is going to bankrupt the country. This is going to be terrible for the citizens, blah, blah, blah. Everything Trump tries to do is the worst thing ever. So far, that is not true. So far, it's been good. Next. Russian official Yuri Ushakov says they've received an offer reportedly related to the war in Ukraine from President Trump that they find acceptable. Let's go. There was an offer from the American side, which the Russian side deems acceptable. It is about time we see an end to that whole conflict. I hope this is it, because I know there was, it's already happened several times. There was supposed to be a peace deal. And then usually it takes little Zelensky to be like, no, I don't want to do that because I want to keep getting money from everybody else. And God knows only what he's doing with it. So I would like to see this thing end. We'll see. Next. At least Trump is trying, put it that way. The Biden administration launched a hotline intended to protect unaccompanied migrant children placed with unfamiliar adults. 65,000 calls made to that line were never answered. Oh my goodness. A service meant to offer help was silent when children reached out. You know what's crazy about this? And this is 100% a conspiracy theory, and I have no way of proving this. But when I read this, I was like, I would, just given what I know about many Democrats, and I know it applies to Republicans too, but given what I know kind of about the Biden administration and even watching Biden himself, I would not be surprised if this hotline, this project, organization, whatever it was that was supposed to take in these calls, and obviously they didn't answer a bunch of them, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was actually a means of working with child trafficking disguised as, oh, we want to make sure these kids are not, with adults that they don't know. And yet it's actually a means of somehow helping the traffickers and getting a piece of a very, very, very lucrative business. As disgusting and heinous as it is, human trafficking brings in a ton and ton of money. And you're very much naive if you don't think that our government has nothing to do with that. If they wanted to shut things down, they could. They can find what you searched on Google. They can find where your phone has been and for how long. And you're telling me we just don't know where these kids are being sold to or who's buying them. Yeah, I don't buy it. You're making just enough arrests to keep people from being mad that you're not doing anything, but you're not taking down any of the people at the top. So I don't buy it that you're actually trying. Next. Nick Fuentes. I really don't know who he is. He hints he may soon be murdered by the same people he says have been trying to silence him. He claims both the left and the right view him as a problem and says he was set up by Candace Owens, who then joined forces with Tucker Carlson to attack him. When they do that, I become a martyr. All right, I do have the video. I don't know what happened or who he is. but I'll let this young man talk.
If you kill me, you will not stop me. And genuinely, when I research this stuff, I get scared because I think that's their next move, is to try to mess with me in some escalating way. Because they do see me as a problem. They say I'm getting too popular, I'm getting too famous, I'm breaching containment. And now they deploy Candace Owens. At the peak of my popularity, she comes in out of the blue to invite me on her show and do this hit job. And then a week later, she goes on Tucker, and they collude to do this hit job. And this isn't going to work.
Let me just pause. So since I don't really know who he is, I did look him up, and he's described as an extreme right-wing, like, live streamer. So I don't think he's a journalist. But anyway, he's described as a white supremacist, which I don't even think he's white. He may be half white. I think he's at least partially Hispanic. So I don't really know how that works. But he's also described as anti-Semitic. So here's the thing. If you're an anti-Semite, why would Candace attack you? Because she's also one. And so is Tucker, essentially, for all intents and purposes. They don't like Jews. And if you don't like Jews, why would they attack you? I don't understand. So I'm not sure what happened. I'll let him finish.
No one in the comments on Tucker's channel is buying it. I don't know what they'll do next, but I'll tell you one thing. That's the worst thing they could do, because when they do that, I become a martyr. I didn't start the show to start lying or selling out now or playing nice. And that's from the basement-dwelling, incel, white male loser.
I guess he is white.
Child from Chicago. You're welcome.
All right. Maybe turn the music down if you want us to hear what you're saying. So now he's worried that he's going to get killed. Says he got ambushed by Candace Owens, who ganged up on him with Tucker Carlson. And now he thinks he's going to become a martyr. I don't know what their beef is. I don't know what brought this on. I do know that I don't trust Candace anymore. And I really don't trust Tucker anymore. I'm not saying I trust him because I don't know anything about him. He might be the same as them. Not every, just because you're a conservative, you tend to like, or a liberal, both sides do it. Oh, this person and I are in agreement on most things, so they're my friend. Not necessarily. Which that may be more true for leftists than conservatives, because conservatives are pretty divided on a lot of things, which is why we don't win elections as much. Or if we do, it's going to be like one term and then it's over and not winning the next election type of thing. But I don't know what's going on there. I can't vouch for him. Don't know who he is. Haven't listened to him. Of course, what I looked up about him was probably reported from a liberal outlet. So calling him a white supremacist and an anti-Semite, I don't know what's true or not. I would almost go, if I didn't, again, I don't want to vouch for him because I don't know, but I would almost go out on a limb and say, if Candace doesn't like you and Tucker doesn't like you, but you are a conservative, then I would think you would be a pro-Israel person, because neither of them are pro-Israel. And that's been dividing them from a lot of other conservatives. But if he's not even that, then I don't know what their beef is. I really don't. Next. I like this account. It's called Retard Finder. It said, please be fake. Well, unfortunately, it's not fake. And as disgusting as it is, it's also not surprising. Let's watch this video.
That is why I take my 11-year-old boy to drag shows in the summer with my friend and fellow church leader, Kate, and her 11-year-old boy. I want him to know that there is no wrong way to have a body, especially if you're a man, that bodies can be celebrated and played with. I want him to know that all bodies can shapeshift and be adorned with makeup and glitter, all bodies. I want him to know that there is no wrong way to live in his body, as long as his body is not hurting other bodies, amen? I especially want him to know this if he turns out to be a heterosexual, able-bodied, and cisgendered man. I want to raise a boy who knows that he doesn't get to tell other people how to live in a body.
Okay, first of all, there is a wrong way to have a body.
That is why I take my...
If you're a boy, you can't have the body of a girl. That's the first problem. Also, the fact that you're taking your 11-year-old to drag shows, prison is where you should be. Look at the flag behind her. This is supposed to be a church. Don't know what kind of church. It may be something like United Methodist Church. These are, here's the thing. If you want to be some kind of queer, or a queer or whatever, that's fine. But is it fine? No, but like you can do whatever you want. And people who are outside of the church, you can't expect them to live like they're inside the church, right? So it's like to some extent, you have an excuse, or you get a pass to some extent, not entirely, obviously, because we're all held accountable for what we decide to do ultimately. But I'm saying the bar is not set as high for you. But what really crosses the line here is the fact that you're trying to bring this into the church. That's the problem. You can have as much gay, mess as you want, but it can't be in a Christian church. Like that's where it becomes a major problem. You're going to answer to God for that. So I wouldn't want to be you. There's still time to repent and stop doing what you're doing. She seems very unapologetic, though, as she stands there and seems to encourage other people to take their kids to drag shows and encourage kids that there's no wrong way to live in a body. Actually, there's only one right way, and it's to live in the body that you were born with and to not mutilate yourself and try to transition when you can't. And then you'll hate yourself for it, and that's why their suicide rate is nearly at 50%. So if you want to encourage kids to do something that'll make them hate themselves and ultimately maybe kill themselves, then you're on the right track, but don't call it love, you psychopath. Next. There is a faith awakening taking place inside the ASU football program. Let me just say, so this is Arizona State. This is my alma mater. I graduated from Arizona State. So I am a Sun Devil. I will say this. I'm very impressed. Okay, hold on. If you've gone to school someplace, especially if you're a graduate, but probably even if you've ever been enrolled in classes, you get emails all the time about what's going on. You get little magazines in the mail and whatnot. So I get things from Arizona State, and I'm telling you, they, at least at one point, I can only assume it's still there. At least at one point, they had a course on witchcraft, essentially how to do it, I guess. And they've also had some very troubling other curriculum. So I've not been too happy with Arizona State. However, I'll say this concerning the football program. I love Coach Dillingham. He's a year older than me. He is an aggressive little devil. They have been fun to watch with him coaching. He's only been there for a couple of seasons. And now this is very good news. I know at the end of the season, if you follow college football, you saw that Arizona State won. This was our first year in the Big 12. They won the Big 12 since they shifted all the conferences and went into the 12 team playoff and faced Texas, which I didn't like watching because I like Texas. They're my second favorite team, but I went to Arizona State, so I kind of root for both, and I didn't want to see either team lose, but one had to lose. So anyway, it was a really good game. It went into maybe double overtime or something. And so Arizona State was very exciting to watch. Cam Scadaboo, the star running back that can somehow, I forget how many touchdowns he had in that game, how many touchdowns all season, something else. Anyway, someone offered to pray for him, and he immediately set down his stuff and took a knee, prayed right there in public. So I was already seeing good things starting to happen with just the football team, but I didn't, here's a little bit more. So back to what I was trying to read. In the past 7 months, over 10 Sun Devil players have gotten baptized. How awesome is that? ASU team chaplain Steve Watson holds a weekly Bible study and pre-game chapel that's been transformative for many athletes' lives. How about that? Let's go. That is so awesome. I'm so happy to hear it. I actually, even though I graduated from Arizona State, I was on 100% online. So I've never even been there in person. I would love, and now that my church has a campus in Phoenix, if I ever was able to go to Arizona for a Saturday, I could go to church at my church in Arizona, and I could see a game on a Saturday. That's now, I never thought about that till now, but that's now on my bucket list. So for as many gay ministers as there are, you see revival starting to break out outside of the church walls. And so it's certainly not over. Things are actually just heating up. Next. 6 months in, President Trump took command, launched an all-out offensive to crush the left's mess and bring American power roaring back. The border is fortified. The economy is unleashed. The one big beautiful bill is law. This is unapologetic America first leadership. So this is like a little compilation of what happened in the first 6 months of Trump's presidency. Obviously, this was from just a couple of weeks ago because it was the end of July, but I have not seen this video, so we can watch it together. It's, I think, less than 2 minutes, but I do want to see the recap.
It is my honor to introduce to you the 45th and the 47th President of the United States of America, Donald J. Trump.
Donald Trump immediately getting to work with a remarkable show of the use of executive power.
We've never seen anything like this. There's 20,000 people cheering for every executive order signed.
President Trump comes in and immediately begins taking action to fix each and every one of these fires that the Democrats started.
It's 6 months delivering on the agenda. This ultimately is promises made, promises kept by the president.
This is a message to the rest of the world. The days of ripping off America and Americans are officially over.
The Trump archives are a series of near impossible feats.
We have the safest, most secure border in the history of this nation.
Border crossings have dropped so much that federal agents now outnumber illegal crossers.
He had a mandate and he
$1 billion in international financial agreement and record.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if we're going to be able to watch it. Am I having trouble? Uh-oh. It's acting like I'm still live, but my screen is not normal. Well, folks, I apologize. Now I'm going to have to see if I can get back up on everything. This still says it's live, so I think it's been recording the whole time I was gone, and I am sorry. I don't know about Instagram, so I'm just going to try to get that one back up and running. And then bear with me. Oh, no, there it is. Bear with me while I try to put that video back up. I don't think that video was the problem. I also don't think it's my computer or my internet. I think the problem was with StreamYard. And here's the thing. That's what I use to record. So that controls Rumble, Instagram, YouTube. And so if there's an issue with StreamYard, it's not like it can really, any of those platforms can really keep going without StreamYard working. So my apologies for that. Let me see if I can now put this video back up, because I actually did want to watch it. And I don't appreciate getting kicked off while I'm trying to go live. You know, I also pay for this software, so that kind of makes me really angry, but I'm doing better with my anger. So let's just see if this will load. Maybe it is an internet issue. I don't know why. I pay for kind of top of the line. I want it to load, and it should never, ever, ever kick me off while I'm live. That is
President Trump marking 6 months in the White House.
It is my honor.
Skip ahead since
Of the use of executive power.
We've never seen anything like this. There's 20,000 people cheering for every executive order signed.
President Trump comes in and immediately begins taking action to fix each and every one of these fires that the Democrats started.
It's 6 months delivering on the agenda. This ultimately is
of ripping off America, and Americans are officially over.
The Trump archives are a series of near impossible feats.
So much that federal agents now outnumber illegal crossers.
Yeah. A mandate, and he's delivering on it. The American economy is better for it.
Forget it. Forget this. Okay. Sorry, we're just not going to watch that video because it clearly doesn't want to play it. So forget about it. I don't want to get kicked off again. It's infuriating that it already happened once. So let's just move on. Anyway, that was posted via the White House, like their official account on X. So if you've not seen the 6-month recap and you do want to see everything that happened in the first 6 months of his presidency, I'm pretty sure they pinned it at the top, which is why I ended up seeing it. But the one thing I wanted to say about it is, you know, everybody is upset about not coming out with the Epstein files. And let me just say, I am also upset about that. That has been the only disappointment, I would say, as far as the Trump administration is concerned. But here's the thing, is a lot of people, you know, they were like, I was MAGA until now, and now I regret voting for him and all this stuff. And it's like, you know, okay, what else did he campaign on that he's not delivered on? You wanted mass deportations and you got them. Promises made, promises kept. You wanted the America First initiative put back. He's been doing that. You wanted tariffs. He's delivering on tariffs. You wanted a closed, secure border. He's done that. So it's like, with the exception of just not coming all the way out with the Epstein files, that is the only thing I'm aware of he campaigned on that he has not delivered on. And that still isn't, there's no guarantee we're not going to get them. Now, the whole situation is sus because I don't know why they couldn't just, you know, and Kash Patel, within 72 hours of me taking office, I'm going to release them, and he didn't. So I don't know what's going on. I'm sure there have been threats and blackmail, and God only knows what names are on that list that will cause waves, to put it mildly, across the world. Probably you may have world leaders of entire countries that God only knows what the fallout of such a thing will be, which I don't care. I think that we should get the client list regardless of who's implicated or what that means. But I just want to say, I wouldn't be quick to be like, you know what, I'm done with Trump. I hate him. I liked him and now I don't, just because of one thing, because he has delivered on everything else. So I would just calm down and be thankful that you have free speech. Be thankful you are having the deportations of these violent criminals. Be thankful that someone's actually doing something to try to stop American citizens from being robbed by our own government, right and left. Be thankful somebody's actually trying to fix the financial mess that we've been in, instead of just kicking the can further down the road. That's what every president has done up to this point. So let him cook. Stop criticizing everything he does and just have a little bit of faith. And don't, not appreciate everything he has done up to this point. Is this what I just tried to play that didn't work? Let me see. Yeah. So forget that video. As much as I did want to see it, it's clear it's going to like crash my software program. I don't know why, but I'm done with it. Next. It's no surprise she looks exactly like how demons have always been portrayed. One critic wrote, and let's be real, if you dress like a demon, act like a demon, and mock God like a demon, don't be shocked when people call it what it is. This is intentional blasphemy from Hollywood. Yeah, so this is Cynthia Erivo. I don't know how to say her name. So she portrayed Jesus in some kind of, I don't know if it's a Broadway musical or what it is. I saw some clips of it, and I'm just saying I won't play them. I didn't want to watch them at all. It is blasphemous. It was disturbing. It did upset me, which is why I'm not sharing any of that. She's some kind of gay. I don't know if she's like bi or lesbian or what. Look at her hands. I know she has fake nails on that seems to be elongating her fingers, but they're too long even without the nails. She doesn't look right. And it's not just because she's bald or has a nose ring. She looks evil. She absolutely looks evil. And the fact that they pick her to portray Jesus Christ that is blasphemous. And, they would never do that if they were having a little skit or a movie or something about Allah or Muhammad, something related to Islam. They would never do something so disrespectful. But since it's Christians, have at it. So that was extremely disturbing. I don't want to see any more on it because I did not like it. Next. Thousands of people made decisions to follow Jesus Christ at a massive evangelistic rally held recently, where of all places, in Portland, Oregon. How about that? Because that is one of the most godless states. I'd say they're maybe not as bad as Seattle, and at least some parts of California and New York, but Oregon has not been a friend to anything modest, conservative, or morally upright. So this is big. This is actually very big. More than 35,000 people attended the PDX Crusade, which was organized by Apathy Creek Church, and the organizers report that more than 3,200 responded by saying yes to the good news of God's offer of salvation and new life in Him. That is awesome for the state of Oregon. Honestly, it is. So as many bad things as there are that are going on, there are simultaneously a lot of good things going on. And I don't want to not appreciate the good things because you're so focused on how upset it makes you to hear about the bad things. I don't want to allow those things to have more influence in how I feel than they should. Next. A remarkable Christian revival is underway in a risky place. Okay, so the fact that they don't name the place makes me think they're not allowed, or it will get people killed because you're not allowed to be a Christian in whatever this place is. So very few foreign journalists are allowed in, but CBN News gained rare access to this region. Pastor Yuri says the church often reports signs, wonders, and miracles following the preaching of the gospel. It's because the gospel has everything to do with signs, miracles, and wonders. When you read the Bible, everywhere Jesus went, there were signs, miracles, and all that. And then same with the apostles in the early church, and that should have never stopped, which is why it does go on today, but you have to like go to the right place, because you have a bunch of people who refuse to get the whole thing for whatever reason. For example, it could be cancer and the cancer disappears, or somebody has a problem with their vision and God fixes their vision. Deaf people can hear, he describes. I believe all this power is in the gospel, and all these miracles happen because people preach the gospel, and God equips us for the gospel to preach the gospel and make disciples. That is 100% true. That's good news. I don't know where that is again, and they probably can't say, or it would like, there's probably like an underground church or something like that, and people would literally die if they were found worshiping. But praise God, that's awesome. Next. The day you accept fitness as a forever thing is the day you stop stressing over quick results and start enjoying the journey. 100. If you think, oh, I went to the gym 3 times and I don't see any evidence of it yet, I don't see any results, I'm giving up. You can't do that. What you do consistently over time is what's going to get you the results that you want. You can't let it just come and go. You can't give up before you've, started. You have to understand you really do have to make it a lifestyle change. It's going to be your life or it's not, but it's like, you can't, you can't look at it as, oh, I have 3 months to meet my goal. No, how about just, I'm going to live and exercise, I'm going to lift, I'm going to take care of my body. And then you don't have to, it's one thing to want to do cutting and bulking, that's fine. But you don't have to ever, suddenly start killing yourself in the gym for a little bit. It's someone said, and I don't know who it was, they said, long-term consistency trumps short-term intensity. And that's true. So if you want, to be about that fit life, you got to make it a lifestyle, and don't look at it as, oh no, I just got to get this done and then I'm going to go back to how I was. You're just going to hate yourself for that. Next. Dean Cain, known for his role as Superman in the 1990s television series Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman, revealed this week that he is joining ICE. That's awesome. I knew he was like super based. Very interesting that he would join ICE, but I'm here for it. Way to go, Dean Cain. Next. Meanwhile, in Canada, Pomeranian chases off a bear who strolled into a home in Vancouver. I don't know how the bear got in. Let's watch the video. Interesting that a bear ran from a tiny dog. Probably knows their psychology. Oh, I just walked in the door. Was the door open? Look, it's just chilling. Oh, this is a nice house. Oh my goodness, all the way out of the house. It's like, out of here. Just, yeah, that door must have been open. You know what's funny is that bear was like, if it had been like a Great Dane or like a Bernese mountain dog, it probably would have been like, oh, what are they going to do? Big dogs don't care about anything. It's just going to like go to sleep. But a small dog, it's like, oh, no, I'm out of here. Small dogs are psychotic. And that bear was not about to find out. That is interesting, though. The dog literally was like, the bear's out of the house at this point. No, I'm going to chase you across the yard. I will see you off my property. And the bear's like, yeah, I'm out. What a good little watchdog. My dogs would be useless. My dogs, I love them, but they won't come help me if I'm being attacked, like fake attacked by my husband. They'll bark. They won't help me. They will not protect the house. Well, my Saint Bernard would protect the house, I guess, but he'd have to be awake, which he rarely ever is. So like they just, he sleeps through everything. And then Stig, my basset hound, he's not going to protect the house. He might bark at you, but if you just give him a treat, he'll be like, oh, we're friends. You're here to kill everyone, but you gave me a treat, so we're friends. Like they're useless watchdogs. Next. Canada has begun what some are calling climate change lockdowns, restricting people from entering the woods due to extreme dry conditions and wildfire risk. So you're not allowed to go into the woods if you live in Canada. because of the climate change hoax. Interesting. Hiking, camping, fishing, and driving vehicles in forested areas are now prohibited. So you can't even drive in a forest without getting out of your car, with the rules even applying to private property. See, this is, okay, first of all, it's ridiculous to tell people they can't walk outside, they can't drive in the woods, but now that you want to apply it to private property, that is what's majorly crossing a line. Officials expect these restrictions to remain for the rest of the summer. Who in the world is still living in Canada and is fine with that? You would think Canada could not get any worse. And yet, they get worse. You know, the bar is at rock bottom and they're like, let's dig lower. Man, you couldn't pay me to live there. That is ridiculous. That is like, that's even worse than the COVID lockdowns, because even with the COVID lockdowns, you could walk outside. If I wanted to go to the forest, I could. And they definitely didn't tell me I couldn't be outside on my own property. Canada is garbage. Next. President Trump has secretly authorized a Pentagon directive to use military force against specific Latin American drug cartels his administration has labeled as terrorist organizations. You know, people have talked forever about the war on drugs, and drugs have been winning the war. So this was all we needed to do, was deem them terrorist organizations and drone strike them, because immediately that turned the fentanyl situation around at the beginning of the year. Not that it's eradicated, but the 6 top producers of it shut down their operations. They were like, you know what, let's retire. And then even China, I think they stopped supplying something that's necessary to make fentanyl. So it using this kind of force does actually work. And this is what we needed to do a long time ago. But it takes somebody like Trump to actually do it, because everybody else is like, you know, as long as I get my cut, they can keep killing people with drugs. I don't care. My son Hunter likes drugs, so we can't really get rid of them completely. What's he going to do? Next. North Korea has introduced the death penalty for supporting Zionism and has officially declared Israel an illegitimate state. Okay. Here's what this made me think when I read this. Everyone who's sane, has multiple functional brain cells, would agree North Korea is an evil country, or at least they have evil leadership, right? Most people, we're not including leftists or liberals in this because they're not sane. So normal people would agree China is kind of an enemy of the United States. You could say the same of Russia and the same of Iran. And yet all of those countries see Israel as the problem. They're all anti-Semite. They're anti-Israel. So you would think, and to say nothing of all the flaming leftists who are all anti-Israel, you would think that every single conservative or even middle of the road who doesn't want to be a flaming liberal, you would think everybody would be like, if every evil person, every evil country, and every insane leftist, they all agree they don't like Israel and Israel's the problem, then I probably am not on the right side of the issue if I also think Israel's the problem. You would think, if you're a conservative, you would have enough sense to know the leftists aren't right on any issue ever. Neither is North Carolina, neither is China, neither is Iran, and neither is Russia for the most part. Rarely does Russia, there are some things I would agree with them. For the most part, as a country, untrustworthy. So you really think all of the pro-Palestine, I have pronouns in my bio, death to Israel, pro-Palestine, you're aligning yourself with those people? I feel like it's kind of, and again, not that your opinion should be influenced by what everybody else is doing, but it should make you think, wow, if I'm tempted to go against Israel, that's who I'm in the same camp with, are all of those people. I feel like you're on the wrong side of the issue. Do you have to agree with everything Israel does? No, you don't. Can we admit there's corruption? Yes, we can. But does that mean it's death to Israel and all Jews? No, it doesn't. And then to take it a step further, if you're a Christian and you're not a liar or you're not illiterate, then you have to admit that Israel is God's prophetic timepiece. The end times revolve around Israel, not around America. It has everything to do with Israel. Those are God's people. Everything will be settled with them before it's all said and done. So taking this anti-Israel position as a conservative or as a Christian is absolutely insane. Look at who you're choosing to be in bed with by taking that position. You're with the they, thems, and all the he, she's, and all the terrorists in Iran, and the globalists in China, and all that. And then the little butterball, little nuclear obsessed weirdo in North Korea. That's who you want to be in agreement with. Really? It should make you scratch your head. All of the evil people in the world seem to hate Israel. So maybe, just maybe, it's a spiritual problem. And the devil actually also hates Israel. Maybe because God has their hand on that country. Yeah. Imagine that being true. It's so, but I guess, again, we're in the end times, and it's because it is spiritual. It's affecting people. The Bible talks about the love of many will wax cold. I've always taken that as Christians departing kind of from the faith, maybe. That also could mean the love for anything God wants to do, which clearly is have his hand on Israel. And for everyone that's like, no, the Israel of the Bible is not the same as the nation of Israel today. Okay. If that's true, then that means this one that's here today is going to be destroyed, and God's going to have to make another one immediately after, because there is a present day Israel where all of these prophetic things are going to go down. Jerusalem is not a fictional place. It's a real place that Bible prophecy talks about. So if it's not that one, then there's going to have to be a duplicate that pops up somewhere. It's much easier to just believe what the Bible says. Oh, okay, it is about Israel. It's miraculous that they exist anyway. But I don't have time to get into that. It's already been over an hour, and I'm not done with the news. No thanks to getting kicked off. Next. President Trump and Attorney General Pam Bondi are now offering a $50 million reward for information that leads to the capture of Nicolás Maduro, the president of Venezuela. All he has to do is change his name to Epstein Files, and that man will never be found. I don't know what's going on with that. Like, is he in a bunker? Why did he run? Obviously, he's not a good person, but I don't know, why he suddenly disappeared and they're looking for him. I really don't know what happened. Next. You know what I would do? If I knew where he was, it's like the same thing with El Chapo. He was paying people to hide him or to harbor him. I'd be like, oh, absolutely, mi casa es su casa. And then as soon as he settled, I would be like, bro, he's here at my house. Come get him. I would sing like a canary after I got my payday. Next. Adults in China are sucking on pacifiers to soothe themselves and relieve stress per NYP. You know what? That's not even a story, because adults in America have been doing that for years. They all have purple hair and nose rings, but they've been doing it. Next. Kremlin says they accept U.S. deal for Ukraine peace. Putin set to meet with Trump 2 days to formalize deal. Meanwhile, Zelensky and NATO are promising to sabotage the deal. Tune in now. Yeah, I told you, every time they get very close to making a peace deal, Zelensky's like, I don't want that, because he wants more money, because he's a corrupt little piece of trash. I do think Ukraine's more of the problem than Russia. Not that Russia is trustworthy, but Ukraine is arguably worse. Next. Spotted in McLean, Virginia. Oh, yeah. I'll show you guys the full picture in a second. So she said she blurred out Stephen Miller's address, but these dock signs are being plastered all over his neighborhood and in the park where his kids play. This is criminal behavior. Basically, it's the radical left bounty hunting for Trump admin officials. They have posted Stephen Miller's home address on flyers, and they are saying he's wanted for crimes against humanity. The only crimes against humanity he's guilty of are absolutely destroying every leftist that tries to get him in any kind of discussion. He always destroys them. So whoever's posting these signs is trying to get Stephen Miller and his family killed. That is true. You can't just dox somebody. You obviously are trying to get him killed. Like, there's no way around that. Here's what the whole thing says or shows. They put his home address on there. They're calling him a Nazi. I'm sorry, he just happens to be white and conservative, and Nazis were not conservatives, by the way. Yeah, I hope they catch whoever's doing that, because that really is an evil thing to do. You know, Trump got shot in the head because of propaganda like that, and there was another attempt. So you really are trying to get somebody killed, and I think that that is punishable, absolutely, by prison time. Next. Okay, so from Matt. Okay, so this girl, it says she's crashing out over how much she owes for her student loans and wants Jeff Bezos to pay off her debt. So I think this is like student. What did it say? Student loans? Yeah, student loans. Okay, so Matt Walsh. I'm not going to play the video. Matt Walsh said, "I actually have a lot of sympathy for young adults who got scammed and are now stuck with crushing debt. I absolutely reject the idea that taxpayers should be forced to save the day, but I still have sympathy. If you want student loan forgiveness, make the universities pay the bill. They're the ones behind this scam ultimately." I agree with Matt Walsh. Obviously, if you take out a loan, you pay it back. That is the only thing that's fair. But on the other hand, I do understand, because like my generation, for example, all we heard while we were in school was you had to go to college, you got to go to college, you got to go to college. So everybody went to college, everybody got a bachelor's degree. So now they're like inflated. It's like a US dollar or something. And then a bunch of people graduated and you couldn't, you know, I've seen ads where it says this job requires a master's degree and it's paying $15 an hour. It's like, so you expect people to go to a 4-year school, you know, take out, it could be $100K in loans or whatever they need. And then they graduate and you're paying them $15 an hour. Are you kidding me? What are they supposed to do? And then they got to pay them back because they took them out. So then you're going to have to go get like 3 jobs just to pay your bills, because you got to have a place to live. You got to have food. You need a car to get to work and stuff. What are they supposed to do? So I agree, there is a scam, and it isn't right. Again, no one else is responsible for paying back the loans you took out. So I'm not at all trying to say that anyone should, but it is the university's fault. It's greed coming from somewhere, and it's been, you know, it's not right. I feel like there should be like a floor. Like if you have an associate's degree, whatever job you get, you have to be, if it requires an associate's degree, they have to pay you at least this much. If it's bachelor's, they have to pay you at least this much. Master's here, doctorate here. You know what I'm saying? Like that would at least guarantee you're able to get a job that that requires the degree that you have. They have to pay you accordingly so you can actually afford to live, and you shouldn't have to work 20 hours a day just to make ends meet. And I'm not talking about so you can afford to go on vacation. I'm talking about just be able to afford to live and eat and pay your bills. Next. Illegal alien Chami. I have no clue how to say that name. Arrested in Texas for aggravated kidnapping and sexual abuse. The illegal Uber driver picked up the drunk victim and took her to a vacant lot instead of her destination. He now has an ICE detailer hold. Okay. Let me just say this. I'm glad he got, they arrested him. Let me just say this though, and I'm not at all blaming the victim, but this is just further evidence that nothing good comes out of drinking alcohol. Obviously, I know people use Uber and Lyft and things like that because you shouldn't drive if you've been drinking, but also understand if you get hammered and then you need to get home, you are putting yourself in the care of a person you don't know. And so it makes it very easy for something like that to happen to you. And again, I'm not blaming the victim. I'm just saying that is an example that getting drunk, not a good idea, especially when you need to get home and you rely on someone else to get you home. So unfortunate that situation is. Glad the guy got arrested. I hope that is a wake-up call to people. Please don't do that and put yourself in that situation. Next. All right. So the Temple Institute says more than 2 decades of work to raise a biblically qualified red heifer have yet to yield a suitable candidate, despite efforts in both Israel and the United States, including animals flown in from Texas. So I heard about this. So there's this whole red heifer sacrifice that has everything to do with the rebuilding of the third temple and all that. So we're talking prophetic end times things. So I knew about the red, I think it was like 6 red heifers they had flown to Israel from Texas, and they were the first ones in over 2,000 years that were born that supposedly fit the requirements, like not a single white hair. Like they need to be very specific to meet the requirements for this sacrifice. But apparently those ones from Texas didn't even weren't even good enough. But they did very recently, I'm talking in the last couple of weeks, they did a mock sacrifice. So again, they have all the materials that they need to start construction on the third temple. They've done a mock sacrifice. They're currently looking for red heifers that will meet the requirements. I think the only thing they're waiting on for the construction of the third temple is like all the permits or something. So this thing is winding down. We are very, very, very near to the end. This is just one more thing that is further evidence of the prophetic time clock is just we're getting close. Not the time to roll the dice with your eternity. Next. China calls for global AI governance while integrating AI into nuclear weapons systems. Okay, multiple things wrong with this. Global AI governance, global anything is a terrible idea, and that is the Antichrist system. Second of all, who would be dumb enough to work AI into nuclear weapon systems? How could you be that dumb? I'm pretty sure the weapon systems work without AI. You don't need AI to press a button and nuke a country. Why are you integrating AI into those things? That is the dumbest thing I've heard China do, and that's saying a lot because they've done a lot of dumb things. Next. Trans Covenant school shooter credited media reporting on LGBTQ movement to help her understand the voice inside her head. Interesting that a school shooter was influenced by the media. You don't hate the media enough. They are propagandists. They are the reason for the racial divide in this country. They are the reason for so many issues. They should be defunded and taken off the air. It's amazing how everything would like start healing if the media were to just go away. But there you go. So they influenced a school shooter. Imagine that. And if you're still watching the media, you're kind of stupid. No opinion. I mean, no offense. All right, that is it for the news. Now, where did my videos go since I got kicked off? Now I'm going to have to find the spot, which is extremely frustrating. Oh, maybe it's actually going to pick up where it left off. Let's see. Anyway, so I had told you guys at the very beginning that I wanted to listen to this lady. So she had an encounter with an angel. And I like these stories. I mean, I like all supernatural confrontation stories. They're very interesting. But I like this one because you don't hear as many stories about receiving angelic help. Normally, the stories you hear are people battling with demons or something like that. And yes, that's happening. But I like the good stories to just show us, yes, the Lord sees you. He protects those who belong to him. He will send help when you need it. And so this lady has a very interesting story. I don't know how long ago this was, but it's interesting because something was about to go down and she wasn't actually aware of it. And then here comes someone to help her because something was brewing, quite literally. So let's listen to what she has to say. I enjoyed this. I hope you do too.
Supernatural confrontation. Tell us what happened. And by the way, thanks for coming on the record. We appreciate it.
I appreciate the opportunity. Well, it was about 10 years ago. The Lord had given me about October of 2013 a vision of what was going to happen in this country at the end times. And about a month later, I was sitting in my living room. It was really late at night, and I was studying the word and looking at current events at the time. And it was a very calm night, very, very quiet. I was living in Kentucky at the time. And out of nowhere, this storm kicked up, like out of nowhere. And the wind was like howling outside. And I grew up in East Texas, so I was wondering if there was a tornado coming. A couple years before that, a tornado had come and taken out the entire town of West Liberty. So I was like, is this another tornado? So I went to my door to go look outside and see what I could see. I heard this voice say to me, don't go outside. And I kind of paused because I wasn't sure.
Let me just pause and say that was very similar to what happened to me on the bike path. If you listened when I talked about that in an episode not too far back, I said how I saw this person up ahead, and immediately I heard, not audibly, but I heard like out of my spirit, turn around. It was authoritative, it was non-negotiable, and it was the Lord telling me to turn around because something not good was coming. I ignored it, and something terrible could have very easily happened to me, which I don't want to get into all that, but it's the same thing here. Authoritative voice telling you, don't go outside.
If I was actually physically hearing that, or if it was just my own thoughts or what. There was like an ominous feeling to this storm. Then I heard right on the heels of that, don't show any fear. You've got nothing to fear. You're a child of the Most High God. Show no fear.
Wow.
And I was like, well, that's true. That's true, you know? So I go, okay, I'm going to check this out because, you know, I need to get my family up if there's a problem here. So I was living with my sister at the time, and everybody was asleep. My sister was in the living room on the couch, not next to me, but you know what I mean, in the same room. My brother-in-law was asleep in his room, and my two nephews were asleep in their rooms. So I go to the door, and I open it to see what I can see, and it was too dark, like unusually dark.
Okay.
And I couldn't tell anything from the sky because it was so dark outside. So I was looking around at this tree that was across the street from me because I thought, well, if I can see how disturbed the tree is, maybe I can discern what's going on with the weather and if we need to maybe get out of here. So I'm holding open the storm door, this glass door, after I'd opened the front door, and the wind kicked up really, really hard and yanked the door out of my hand so hard I almost actually stumbled out the door. I was like, okay. And I kept looking around, and then the wind kicked up again, and the storm door came hard to slam on me. And I reached up like this to try and block the door from hitting me in the face. And the door hit my hand hard, really, really hard. I was actually really surprised that it didn't shatter the glass while in my hand. It hit so hard.
Okay.
And right then, right over top of my own hand was this massive hand that I could see almost like a hologram laid right over top of my own hand. In every other way, it looked like the hand of a man, just a normal man, but it was huge and very strong looking.
Wow.
And I was just like, my eyes must have been huge. But I mean, I'm looking, I follow this arm up, and I see beside me a huge man. Very, very, very strong, very mighty looking man. He was blonde, and he had hair down to about here to his shoulders, and he was in armor. Like, you could just tell looking at it, this was extremely thick, strong armor, very gleaming. And on his shoulder, on the armor, was the head of an eagle, whatever that means. And he put his hand to the door as if he were closing the door and said to me, I went and I closed the door physically when I saw that. And he said, don't go outside again. And I'm thinking, okay, I don't know. Okay. I knew this was.
Let me pause real quick. So a couple things so far. She's talking about this storm. It was too dark and had an ominous feeling to it, which made me, when I first heard this story, made me immediately think of the story in the Bible where Jesus is in a boat with the disciples, and all of a sudden here comes this storm, and it's rocking the boat, and it's crazy, you know. And the Greek words used to describe the storm is like the sea was more wild and tumultuous than they had ever seen it. So then they wake up Jesus, don't you care that we're perishing? And what does he do? He doesn't panic. He gets up and he does what? He rebukes the wind and he rebukes the waves. So it was a demonic storm. And then the Greek words used to describe how the sea was after Jesus rebuked it, it was more calm than like they'd ever seen it. And keep in mind, many of these men that were with him were fishermen, so they were always on the water. They knew what to expect, so they were freaking out because it was a demonic storm, much worse than anything normal or natural. And then it's more calm than normal or natural after Jesus rebuked it. So it's not a stretch to believe that sometimes storms can be demonically influenced. And then the second thing I like is she talked about this guy looking like a warrior. It reminds me of the book of Daniel when he sees this, you know, this angel shows up and he's like, he ends up on his face. He's like, you know, it's a terrifying, awesome sight. This is a powerful, strong being, and yet it's no wonder every time they appeared in the Bible, they said, don't be afraid, because obviously that's your first reaction. You're huge. You look like you could rip my head off with your thumbs. Yeah, I'm kind of scared. So far what she's saying tracks with the Bible, in my opinion.
An angel. There was no doubt in my mind. I knew that, you know.
Right.
And I felt like I knew him. There had been an incident when my sister and I were just preschool children where a demonic entity had shown up, and there was an angel that showed up at the foot of our bed that night and told us everything was going to be okay and made that entity go away. And I felt there were some indicators there that made me feel like this angel that was standing there in my living room while the storm was happening was the same angel, the same one.
Right.
I can't really prove that, but that's what I felt. Anyway, he told me, you need to pray now. And so I was starting to feel panicked, not by him, but by this massive pressure I could feel, this oppression I could feel building. I mean, even remembering it, I start to feel it come back. And so I couldn't think. I went to go pray, but I couldn't think of anything to say. And so I went to my computer to go look up the Psalms, because my mother had raised me to know the scriptures, and God bless her. And so I knew that the Psalms were very, very potent in spiritual warfare. So I go to my laptop to look up Psalms because I just couldn't.
What's interesting is that the entire word of God is. Notice how when the devil himself came to tempt Jesus, what happened? 3 times he attempted, and what did Jesus do? 3 times said, it is written. So all Jesus had to do was speak the word of God, and the devil himself was like, all right, I'm out of here. So this is something to stand on. People think it's a book. These are just words. No, it is the power of God. And if you're experiencing something, of course, always, I would say the first thing to do is call on the name of Jesus, plead the blood of Jesus, say his name, but also any scriptures that come to mind or just come out of your spirit, say them out loud, and it'll help you.
I didn't think. And this fear just came out of nowhere, which is not normal for me. I'm not like a real excitable person. But my internet went out. Just like the second I went to my computer to start looking up the scriptures, the internet went out. I couldn't look them up. And I was like, where's my Bible? I need my Bible. I couldn't think of where it was. And I knew I didn't have time. So I started praying. I just said, Lord, help me. I can't think of what to say. Help me. And I don't even remember most of the rest of what I said. I don't. I just remembered that as I was asking God to tell me what to say, that the scriptures just started pouring out of me. that I had, and I just prayed as hard as I could. And I remembered what the Lord had said, that where two or more are gathered together in my name, there will I be in the midst of them. So I tried to wake up my sister because she was there in the room with me.
Okay.
And she was a believer too. And I'm like, Becca, I need you to wake up. I need you to pray with me right now. But she couldn't wake up. She kept trying. I could see her trying. She would stir, but then she would conk right back out. I've heard you talk sometimes about people in certain encounters getting switched off. I think that's what happened to her. I think she got switched off.
Okay.
But I just kept praying, and the oppression I could see in my mind, my eyes were squeezed shut. I was so terrified, and I was just praying with everything I had, and I could start to see in my mind what was going on outside of my home, and I could see these shadowy demons, like dozens of them, crawling all over the outside of my home, just pounding on the walls, the windows, the roof, everything, trying to get in and trying specifically to get at me. And it was so intense, so terrifying. I was actually physically ducking from the blows that I could, in my mind, whatever, see trying to get at me through the walls. And I was just praying harder and harder. The only thing I clearly remember myself saying while I was praying was from the Psalms, Lord, come speedily to my aid. I needed Jesus right now. And he did show up. He showed up because also in my mind's eye, I could see the sky, the night sky, and it was dark. And I could see the clouds begin to part, just these rolling clouds begin to part. And the moon I could see behind the clouds. And then the clouds became circular. They just kind of expanded like this and got circular. And they turned into rings, concentric rings, kind of like a telescope. One ring would turn to the right and the other to the left, all the way back, just layers and layers of it. And as this widened and deepened, these concentric rings of clouds that were spinning, angels started pouring through. And they were all armored like the angels standing in my living room. I couldn't see him anymore, but I could feel he was there. I could feel.
This is a huge thing. This is like not just a one angel thing. Like this is like a big deal. So I don't know what led up to this, but it's interesting is, and I'll let her finish, but there's a book called This Present Darkness. And then there's a sequel to it called Piercing the Darkness. And these books they're novels. So they're not based off of true stories or events, but they obviously took facts and things we know about spiritual warfare from the Bible and turned them into a story. And it makes me, her story kind of reminds me of those books where, there's a spiritual battle that's being fought because of what a person is doing or is going to do. And so you have, we have an enemy, you have demons that want to attack people and keep you from doing certain things and influence you to do other things. And then you have angels that come to help you. Right. So I don't know the context of what all was going on in her life, but this is interesting because it's not, this is not at all like an insignificant, like I just had a bad dream and then felt better after I prayed or something. Like this is like a big deal.
He was there and I knew he was the reason those demons were not getting through to get at me. And I just kept praying. And I also saw that the demons outside of the house that were pounding on the walls looked up when the angels started coming down. And they went and leapt off of my house to go fight with them in the air. And I didn't see anything else after that point. But what I do know is this: at that exact moment, everything stopped. Everything stopped. It stopped at least as suddenly as it had started. The house was no longer rocking on its foundations anymore. I mean, we were living in a trailer. I'm not trying to say we were living in, like concrete anything. We weren't. But it was in a trailer, but it was rocking violently to and fro this whole time that this was going on. But when they leapt off the house, when I could see that to fight with the angels, it all stopped. The wind stopped. It was just completely still. The house was calm. Everything was fine. Now, I won't lie and say I wasn't afraid anymore. I still was for quite a bit after that. But when I looked outside, everything outside was calm and everything was fine. The next day, I went and I looked on weather reports for the area. I was like, there's got to be, I should look for the natural first.
Right.
And, doubting myself, frankly, I think this world trains us very well to doubt ourselves and what we see and experience. And so I went and I looked, and there were no weather. The weather report said there were no weather phenomenon anywhere in our city for the week before that night. And they didn't forecast any for the week after that either. Nothing. I even asked one of our neighbors that came by later that day, was a friend of my elder nephew, hey, did you guys see that crazy storm last night? And they're like, no, we didn't see it. And that comes out later as something else going on with them. But my point is, when my family was in great distress, the Lord showed up. He showed up powerfully. And when I asked my family, did they remember what happened the night before? They all said yes, except my brother-in-law. He slept through the whole thing. He didn't know anything was going on. But my sister remembered, and she said no matter how hard she tried to wake up, she couldn't. And my nephew said they were awake, that the shaking of the house woke them, but they were so afraid they just hid under the blankets. And when it stopped, they went back to sleep and everything was fine. And that's all that they remembered. So I know that it happened because, like I said, this world trains us to doubt ourselves. I asked myself the question, could this have just been a dream? Could it have all been in my mind? And so that's why I asked other people, what did you guys experience? What did you guys remember? And they remembered that this had happened, but they didn't know anything else, So that is what happened. Go ahead.
So yeah, let me jump in here. So a couple of things. This thing comes from nowhere. You're told don't go outside, but you disobey and you go outside, and that's where the door thing happens. And I've heard this before. Angels in shining armor. I spoke to a woman a while back, fairly recently actually. Same thing. The angel was huge, and the armor, all shining. Interesting that you see the eagle, on the shoulder. That's really an interesting detail. Now, when you're seeing this, are you seeing this with your natural eye, or is this an impression in your mind?
I think there may have been a kind of overlap there, at least at first. Like when I saw his hand over my hand,
right?
I really believe that was physical eyes seeing that to let me be able to discern, because I clearly wasn't discerning well enough. And for me, that was one of the biggest takeaways I had from this experience is, believer, be careful. Be careful, because no matter how strong your faith is, the enemy will try to weaponize that against you if he can. He'll try to confuse you because that second voice said
That's so true. And that's why you have to constantly be, and it's easy to think that you're like, oh, I'm in the word. I pray. I'm always at church and all these things. And so there's a temptation to think that you are pretty solid, and that you're not capable of being deceived and you're not capable of anything coming against you. But there's a verse that says, anyone who thinks they stand, take heed lest you fall. And also understand that the devil, like she said, he will try to weaponize your faith and use those things against you. And that's how people end up becoming self-righteous, and they end up becoming religious, and they never thought it would happen, because they just, I'm good. I know the word very well. I've been in church all my life. Like, I'm set. But it's like, understand, you are capable of being deceived if you don't constantly stay on guard. And this is where the discernment comes in, or even the gift of discerning of spirits. And this is why I've been really, I guess it's been since the beginning of this year, I have been praying, asking the Lord, I ask you to not let me be deceived. If I am deceived in any way, I ask you to remove that deception from me and let me see the truth. I want nothing but the truth in every situation, and especially when it comes to your word. Because why? I am aware that I can be deceived if I am not careful, and if I'm not if I become arrogant, thinking, oh, I know the scriptures, whatever, I'm set. No, you are literally in prime position to be deceived if that's your attitude. And I don't ever want to become like that. So I pray and I ask the Lord continually, help me not become that way. Show me the truth. If I'm starting to go in that direction, bring me back on course. So that's a great point she just made.
Right thing. But it did it to deceive me. It did it to lure me out of a safe zone to get to me. For some reason, I guess, I believe the Lord sets boundaries that, this far, no further, that the enemy cannot cross. And for whatever his reasons, the Lord be praised, I think he put a boundary there that those demons could not come into my home. But if I crossed that threshold, all bets were off. I think maybe that's why the angel tried to warn me from going outside.
Let me ask you this. Why the target? Why you as a target? What was going on in your life? Were the nephews dabbling in any type of witchcraft, Ouija boards?
I hope not. Stuff? It's possible. There are things I found out later that were going on with my brother-in-law that I didn't know about at the time. I didn't actually learn about that for years.
Are you at liberty to talk about that? Or because if it's going to be,
not really, no, but there were some open doors there for sure.
Okay.
I've asked myself many times why, what, because that's not normal. Let's just
no, it's not.
That's
it's not
normal.
No,
none of this is normal.
And it's never happened before or since.
No,
okay.
Not like that.
Not like that.
Not like that.
And this is
interesting too, like, because what I was saying, this is a big deal. This is not just like one little weak demon trying to like irritate you or something. It's like a very big deal. So you do got to wonder, and I'm not trying to like throw her brother-in-law under the bus or her nephews or anything, but you never know what kind of things somebody can invite in that you're not even aware of. But it can absolutely then have an impact, especially if they're under your roof living in your house. So and people do things. It's not like, I'm not saying that they were sacrificing goats and worshiping the devil and drinking blood, but people, by your behavior, you invite certain things in by what you do. And again, the devil's a deceiver. So he wants you to think, oh, there's nothing to it. It's just a game. It's just music. It's just whatever, nothing. It's not going to hurt anything. People that think there's spiritual implications, they're crazy, blah, blah, blah. And so then you think it's okay. And you just do these things. And then you have no idea what you're opening the door to, especially if you choose to allow sin to come into your life. So who knows what was let in that then affected her.
In my life.
This is centrally located over the trailer. Now,
yes.
How close is your nearest neighbor to where you are?
Oh, very close. Maybe a car could fit between them.
Okay.
Maybe a car.
Did they experience
really
anything?
Close.
Did they experience? Did the neighbors next to the trailer experience anything?
That's a great question. I never thought to ask, to be honest, because we're very much keep to ourselves people. So we weren't really friendly with our neighbors.
Okay.
So it just never crossed my mind.
Okay. So this thing happens and you call out to the Lord, and all of a sudden when you see the concentric rings, I'm assuming that's like a vision in your mind, correct?
Oh, very vivid. I can still see it in my mind right now. I'll never forget any of it.
Okay. So let me just run something by you real quick. When we read the book of Job, this is the type of stuff we read in Job. So it's some people will go, well, that's really bizarre. Well, our Bibles, the guidebook of the supernatural, talks about this stuff. Read the book of Job. With storms rising up out of nowhere. That's the hand of the enemy. That's what he can do. And that's why when we read the book of Job, we see, oh, he can do this, he can do that. Obviously, without he's got to have, there are boundaries. He can go so far and not further, just like we see in Job. You can do this, but you can't kill him. So it's interesting how the protocols of this heavenly war take place, and we see it. So after this, that was it. Peace returned. You wake up the next morning, you start asking, and you look at the weather. Nothing happened. There's nothing. So this is very localized over your trailer. This is what I would call a demonic attack against you. The good news is you saw an angel. The angel was there. Probably the same angel that was there when you were, preschool kids, and he shows up and he gets rid of them. I just love the story. I'll give you the last word, and thanks for coming on, Leslie.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity. Just one thing to say. The supernatural world is extremely real. It's as close as the air between your fingers, if not closer. And both sides are very invested in this war. There's more going on than we know, and that is why we have to know our word. We have to know our Bible. If a moment like that comes in your life, number one, know that Jesus will show up. All you have to do is believe him and call him. That's all. It will show up. And then get into your word and stay in your word, because you never know when you're going to need that armor and that sword and shield.
Amen. Well said. Folks, there you have
Awesome. Thank you, Leslie and Dr. Marzulli. He actually just emailed me back. I sent in a question about something, and I just now saw he emailed me back. He is my favorite as far as believers who are researchers of I guess you would say the supernatural, but through a biblical lens. He's probably my favorite, who I've learned the most from. I've been following him for over a decade. He has a whole website. You can go to lamarzulli.com. You can stream he's a filmmaker. You can stream his films. You can get his books. I've actually only read one of his books. And it's a great book, but he's written a lot more since then. So if you're at all interested in what's going on today through and seeing it through a biblical lens, he would be the first person I would suggest that you follow. He does have a doctorate of divinity, but he's got a very interesting background. I have tremendous respect for him. I love that guy. So I thought that story was very interesting because, again, normally you hear negative encounters people have with the supernatural. So I like to hear the ones where there's an angelic intervention, if you will. And it's further evidence that the Lord, he knows those who belong to him. He loves you. He will protect you. You call out to the Lord for help. He hears you and he will help you. So let's get into the Bible, since we're essentially already there. And I said at the beginning, what I want to address today is apathy. And shout out to my mom, because I was having a conversation with her a couple days ago, and she's like, maybe that apathy is something you'd want to talk about in one of your episodes. And I was like, yeah. And there's never been a better time for it. There are, like, kind of what we talked about as we looked at the news. There are like with that Cynthia Erivo or whatever her name is, the blasphemous portrayal of Christ, and then the gay minister, and it's some kind of church encouraging kids to be trans and all. Take your kids to drag shows. So as much as you're seeing those kind of things ramping up, you are seeing revival sweeping the country. And yeah, and you're seeing genocide and Christians being martyred in other countries. And so you're seeing evil ramp up, but you're also seeing the outpouring of God's Spirit, which is also accelerating. So it's a very exciting time to be alive. There's a lot going on. I think all of this is evidence to the fact that we are very near to the end. And I understand every generation has said that. But not every generation could check things off of the prophetic list that we have them checked off. There's nothing keeping Jesus from coming right now. I believe the only reason that he hasn't yet is because he is waiting for more people to come into the kingdom of God. So it's actually an act of grace and mercy that he hasn't come yet, because he's allowing more people to come into the kingdom. And so there has never been a more important time to not be apathetic about the kingdom of God and about the Lord and about what it is that God wants done through your life and in the lives of others. As far as we remain on this earth, it is more important than ever to be completely all in, sold out for the things of God. As we get nearer and nearer to the end, it becomes increasingly important. I actually was listening, this has nothing to do with apathy, but it is amazing how it fits. I was listening to Lester Sumrall. He has like a 24-part teaching on the gifts of the Holy Spirit, and I'm only into like the 5th one. And he was older when he did these teachings, like probably in his 80s. I think he died at like 86. So he was near the end of his life. And I think he knew it because he he was even in his 80s more bold, less not at all apologetic about the word of God. And he just was like, believe it or you're doing it wrong. Like he didn't hold back anything. And he even said, I am even more cognizant of I'm more careful of my behavior and what I do and say now than I was before, because I know I'm near the end of my life. So it's more important to me than ever to be pleasing to God and to just do everything that he wants me to do. I'll say what you want me to say. I'll go where you want me to go. I'll do what you want me to do. I am going to stand before you. I'm going to give an account of myself. And I think it's sooner rather than later. So I am aiming to please you now. It is more important to me now at the end of my life than it was when I started in the ministry or was halfway through. So we should have the same attitude as we see all of these things happening that have been checked off of the prophetic timeline. The Lord is coming very soon. It could be 5 minutes from now. It could be next week. It could be in 3 years. It could be in 10. I don't know. I'm not trying to set a date. But the point is, we are told scripturally to be ready, right? And I'm going to show you some scriptures where the Lord does not speak highly of complacency or lukewarmness or apathy, but he does expect you to be vigilant, to stay awake, to commit your way to him. And again, like I said at the beginning, when you look at the book of Revelation, there are 7 letters to 7 churches. And the last one is representative of the 7 church ages. We are in the last one. And so the letter written to the church of Laodicea is what's for us. Not that we can't get something from all of them, but specifically since we're in the 7th church age. And that one is about lukewarmness is the problem that needed to be addressed in that church. And so that is a word for the church today. And when we get to that scripture, we're going to see Jesus did not speak highly of that lukewarmness. It was disgusting and repulsive to him. And so now is not the time to be apathetic as a Christian. If you're an unbeliever, I would get in. I would absolutely get in. Both feet, go all in. I can't stress enough how important that is. But if you're already a believer and you're like, you're on cruise control, it's kind of like, yeah, I have a relationship with Jesus. I've been reconciled to the Father. I attend church regularly. I read my Bible, pretty much every day. I'm good. Things are fine. I'm very busy. I have kids. I have this going on with my job. I have a house to take care of. I've got, you've allowed the cares of the world to kind of take precedent in your life. And God has kind of been moved to the back burner. And maybe you didn't intentionally do that, because no one really does intentionally. It's just that, again, it's like gravity. There's this negative downward pull of sin and your flesh. And if you don't make an effort to fight against that, you over time just get pulled down. And then you have a bunch of stuff piled on top. Well, I got to go back to school. Oh, my kid is graduating, or, I'm whatever. It's like everything in life becomes more important than the things of God. And people are willing, they're willing to move, pack up their family and move for a job opportunity, or to be close to a family member or whatever, but they wouldn't do that for the Lord. If the Lord was like, I want you to move across the country to plug into this church because I have something I'm going to have you do there, they're like, well, I'm not going to move to go to a church. But you'd move for a job, you'd move because your mom wants to, or whatever, things like that. And so the Lord isn't really first. He's not most important. He's not a priority. And I'm not saying anyone needs to move. I'm simply saying it's an issue of your heart that you wouldn't be willing to do those things for the Lord, but you would be willing to do them for one of your kids who would like for you to live closer or whatever, because they just had a baby, and who's going to help them babysit if I'm not around the corner, that type of stuff. So it's certainly not the time to be apathetic or lukewarm. Now is the time to have more fire than you've ever had, to have a deeper love and care for the things of the kingdom of God than you ever have, to be much more passionate about the things of God than ever in your life. It is increasingly important as we get closer and closer to the end, because again, as a believer, you will stand and give an account of yourself. All of us will, and we're going to answer for the things done while in the body. And I don't know, I can't speak for anybody else, but that concerns me. I know I'm not answering for sin because it's under the blood, but I am answering for everything I've done, and I've barely ever done anything for the Lord or for the kingdom of God. And it's not enough to just be like, well, I went to church, I believe in you, I'm born again, I read your word, and what have I ever produced that aligns with the will of God? You're supposed to win souls. You're supposed to get more people and tell them about Jesus. And what have I ever done? Nothing. I've never gone out soul winning or witnessing. To be honest, I don't want to do that, you know? So I'm like, I'm going to answer for what I've done. So I feel a pressure on me, a divine pressure even, that I need to produce for the kingdom of God, which is why I've been asking, Lord, what do you want me to do? What can I do to partner with you? And this podcast was the first thing. I don't want to do this. Eileen and I like talking, but if it wasn't from the Lord, I wouldn't be doing it. And I certainly wouldn't be continuing to do it at this point if I didn't feel I am doing something he told me to do. I'm being obedient. And I don't need to understand everything. All I'm required to do is be obedient to him, to just say yes, even if it doesn't make sense or it's something I don't want to do. So anyway, apathy, that is, and the thing is too, this is something else my mom and I were talking about, how, you know, when you turn on a light in a dark room, you don't have to like tell the darkness to go away. It just does when the light comes on, and the darkness never overcomes the light. But if the light voluntarily leaves or allows, you know, we'll just turn the dimmer on and keep dimming it, darkness moves in. And so with the church becoming apathetic and lukewarm and kind of being a convenient Christian, you know, yeah, I'll be a Christian as long as it doesn't really cost me too much. You know, like for example, let's say you needed a new job and you got offered your dream job and you prayed for the job, but that job is going to require you to work on Sunday mornings. Are you going to take it and not go to church anymore? That's a question of, is God actually first? Or are you going to say, I wanted this job, I need it, but the Lord will remain first in my life. So that means first thing, the first day of the week, the first thing I do, I go to church, and nothing will get in the way of that. No job, no hobby, no event, nothing. That time is set aside for the Lord, and it's non-negotiable. He will remain first in my life. That kind of thing is out the window because so many people, yeah, well, my kid, they're a cheerleader and they have competitions on Sundays, so I'm not going to be at church for this entire season of the year. No priority there. The kid and their cheerleading is the priority, right? Me, I personally, I don't care what I miss. Because if I were to skip church to go to something, I would like feel not good the whole time I'm there anyway. I'd be like, I was supposed to be at church now. So let's get into some scriptures and see what the Lord has to say concerning this subject. Here's the first one from Zephaniah, not a commonly quoted book. This is one of the minor prophets toward the end of the Old Testament. At that time, I will search Jerusalem with lamps, and I will punish the men who are complacent. So he's not even saying I'll correct them. I will encourage them in the right direction. No, he's going to punish men who are complacent. Clearly, this is something God doesn't like. In fact, it almost looks like it's like equivalent to sin or to wrongdoing or to turning their backs on God, because punishment, when you read throughout the Old Testament, punishment was brought on because of sin, because of unfaithfulness to God, because of breaking the covenant. And here we have the same thing for complacency. So clearly this is something God sees as a problem, and it's something that deserves to be punished. Second one, and this is the one I mentioned, which is New Testament, and this is for us if anything ever was. I know your works. You are neither cold nor hot. Would that you were either cold or hot. So because you are lukewarm and neither hot nor cold, I will spit you out of my mouth. The Greek word actually means vomit. I will vomit you out of my mouth, which suggests this lukewarmness is repulsive. This is Jesus talking. He finds this absolutely disgusting and repulsive. Ugh, I want to throw that up, get it away from me. Doesn't like it. He'd rather you be ice cold than lukewarm. So that is a pretty, you don't want to find yourself in that lukewarm position. Jesus clearly has no respect for it. He doesn't like it. He hates it. It's repulsive, and he wants nothing to do with it. So how can we expect to be pleasing to the Lord and in relationship with someone, Jesus, and be doing or being a certain way that he finds absolutely repulsive? So this should be a what is the word I want to use? I can't think of the word. It should be like unsettling. And we should examine ourselves. Have I gotten lukewarm? Because the truth of the matter is a lot of people have fire and passion when they first get born again, because they're like, wow, I met Jesus and he's wonderful and I've never felt better and this is amazing. All this weight was just lifted off of me. This is the best thing ever. And then over time, what happens? The cares of this world, little here, little there. It's like the frog in the pot. You heat the water a little bit more and a little bit more, and before you know it gets boiled to death because it didn't notice that things were happening in increments. And that's what we do. We allow things to just a little here, kind of cave, compromise on this. Yeah, I know that was important 10 years ago, but things have changed. And we justify it in our heads. Yeah, but my life has changed. You know, when I first became a Christian, I didn't really have anything going on. It was easy to devote all of my time and energy to the things of God. But now life is a lot busier. Now I've got kids and now I have X, Y, and Z and all this stuff. I'm busy. I have a lot going on. And so you justify losing your fire. You justify becoming lukewarm. It's just lost its first place in your life. And clearly Jesus sees there's no excuse for it and he's repulsed by it. So this is something we should examine ourselves. In fact, something my pastor said his dad always taught him this. He said, when you go to bed at night, when you lay your head on your pillow, ask yourself, did I grow closer to the Lord today or did I drift further away? And if the honest answer is I drifted further away, don't go to sleep like that. Get in the word, pray, and ask the Lord, I don't want to end the day like this. I don't want to ever be going backwards. And I also don't even want to be staying the same. I want to only increase. I want to mature. I want to learn more. I want to become more like you and less of me. I want to be ever growing and increasing in the things of God. And I want more love than I had yesterday. I want more passion than I had yesterday. I want more fire than I had yesterday. And the awesome thing is when you ask, you receive. So this is something that is 100% up to us. It's not God's job to make sure we stay on fire, we stay hot and not become lukewarm. It's not his job. He's already done everything he needs to do. At this point, it's up to us. We are, and that's the thing too, is God is the constant, right? He stays the same. He never moves. He never does anything to distance himself from us. He stays the same, always in the same place. And what happens? We're right here and we start to drift. We start to drift backwards. He never moved. We're always the variable. So that says a lot of the responsibility that we have as believers and as his children to make sure we do not allow ourselves to slip or get apathetic or become complacent. Look at this from 1 Samuel chapter 2. But I will honor those who honor me, and I will despise those who what? Despise me? No. I will despise those who think lightly of me. So he's not even saying he despises those who hate his guts and persecute the church and want nothing to do with them. No, he despises those who lightly esteem him, who have, I think lightly of you. I have just enough to feel set. Yeah, I'm going to heaven. That's great. But there's light, there's this light esteem, not this full blown, I want to honor you. I love you. I do owe you. I want to serve you. What can I do to make my life useful to you? How can I partner with what you want to see done? So that should kind of, again, I know there's a word I want to use, but I'm going to have to say be unsettling to people. He will despise those who think lightly of him or lightly esteem him. I don't want that at all. So I don't want to lightly esteem him at all. Next. This is an example of someone who grew apathetic. This is about the prophet Eli from the Old Testament, from the book of 1 Samuel. So on that day, I will fulfill against Eli all that I have spoken concerning his house from beginning to end. And I declare to him that I am about to punish his house forever for the iniquity that he knew, because his sons were blaspheming God and he did not restrain them. Therefore, I swear to the house of Eli that the iniquity of Eli's house shall not be atoned for. So notice, Eli himself wasn't the one doing anything, but he was apathetic. He knew what his sons were doing, and he was just like, whatever. Got complacent, was apathetic about it, and God's like, now your entire house is getting punished because you were apathetic about this. You just didn't care. You did not take it seriously. There was no zeal for my house. There was no commitment to honor me, to keep things holy that should have always been holy. You were apathetic about it. And because of that, punishment is coming. So notice, it wasn't even Eli's actions. It was his lack of action to do the right thing that is bringing punishment. Same way that sin that you do on your own brings punishment, God is punishing this apathy and this complacency. I'm going to have to share my screen with you because I want to read a whole passage from the New Testament, and it's like too many to put into these little bubbles. So I'm just going to put it up on the screen. This is the parable of the 10 virgins. If you are familiar with the Bible, you're probably familiar with this passage. So look at this. Then the kingdom of heaven will be like 10 virgins who took their lamps and went to meet the bridegroom. 5 of them were foolish and 5 were wise. For when the foolish took their lamps, they took no oil with them, but the wise took flasks of oil with their lamps. As the bridegroom was delayed, they all became drowsy and slept. But at midnight there was a cry, "Here is the bridegroom, come out to meet him." Then all those virgins rose and trimmed their lamps. And the foolish said to the wise, "Give us some of your oil, for our lamps are going out." But the wise answered, saying, "Since there will not be enough for us and for you, go rather to the dealers and buy for yourselves." And while they were going to buy, the bridegroom came, and those who were ready went in with him to the marriage feast, and the door was shut. Notice, those who were ready. Afterward, the other virgins came also, saying, "Lord, Lord, open to us." But he answered, "Truly I say to you, I do not know you. Watch therefore, for you know neither the day nor the hour." So notice how all 10 of them originally had some oil in their lamps. All right. Originally, a while back, right? They were all ready. And then what happened? 5 of them decided to remain ready, and 5 got complacent, right? I don't know when he's coming. I'm not prepared. Doesn't really matter. I have other things. No, I didn't bother to get more oil, whatever. And so when the time came, oh no, he's here. I don't have any oil. My lamp is going out. Somebody's not ready. And there were 5 who were, because they had extra oil. Why? They were vigilant. They were watching, and they were ready. And that's something my pastor says all the time. You can't get ready. You have to be ready. There is no such thing as we're going up in the twinkling of an eye. There's not time to get ready. You have to be ready, which is why you have to stay awake. You have to watch. You have to be vigilant. And if you're doing those things, you can't grow apathetic. You know, that's like if I'm, let's say, and this is maybe a poor example, but let's say I saw somebody outside my house and I'm like, what's this person doing in my yard? So I have a weapon. I'm not apathetic about that situation. I'm not complacent about that situation. I am ready. If you try to break into my house, I wouldn't do that if I were you. I'm ready. That is not at all not being watchful, right? I'm prepared and I got an extra full clip right here. I'm ready. But the person that's like, they're not going to do anything. I'm tired. I'm going to go to bed, blah, blah, blah. Apathetic, complacency, not watching, and you don't have time to get ready. You had to be ready. But what's troublesome about that is they initially were. So this is clearly talking about people who at one point in their lives, they were ready. But over the course of time, they're by their own fault, they're no longer ready and they're no longer suitable. So that's a sobering, maybe that's the word I was thinking of, sobering reminder that it is up to us to stay vigilant at all times and to never let the fire go out. Don't accept, well, life has changed. No, God hasn't. His word hasn't. His kingdom hasn't. So don't allow yourself to fall in line with the world and allow those priorities to be absorbed into your life and he takes a back seat. People will literally, try to justify it. Well, it's not really realistic to stay that way all your life. That's a lie from the pit of hell. It absolutely is something not only that you can do as a believer, you are supposed to. Otherwise, you're the 5 virgins who didn't bring oil. And that's based on that parable. That's not one of the 10 that you want to be. Next. And that servant who knew his master's will but did not get ready or act according to his will, he will receive a severe beating. So again, we're talking punishment. For what? Did he murder someone? Did he go have an affair? No. He didn't know his master, or he knew his master's will, but he didn't get ready or act according to the will. So there is no excuse. It is not okay, according to what we've read so far. I know what the will of God is, but I'm not going to act on it. That's inexcusable. And there's punishment according to the Bible that we see there. This is something this is displeasing to the Lord. So how about, as believers, what the will of the Father is. He wants his kingdom built. He wants the church built. He wants more people coming into the kingdom. He wants the lost to be saved. He wants the sick to be healed. He wants the oppressed to be delivered. He wants the gospel preached in all the world, right? So we can't know the will and not act according to it and expect that there's no rebuke or punishment for that. And again, never mind. Next. Stay dressed for action and keep your lamps burning and be like men who are waiting for their master to come home from the wedding feast so that they may open the door to him at once when he arrives. Blessed are those servants whom the master finds awake when he comes. So what happens? So we've already seen there's punishment if you're not watching, but there's a blessing when you're ready, when he shows up. Oh, you're awake. You've been waiting for me. You've been watching. You've known my will. You've acted on it. You have been vigilant. Okay, here's a blessing for you for doing that. So, which one do you want to be? There's this, again, the complacency, the apathy. I have other concerns. Yeah, I have room for God, but it's just going to have to be convenient. Or there's this, he's coming. you know, it could be any moment. I'm going to have oil. I'm going to act according to his will. I'm going to stay awake. I'm going to be watching. I'm going to be ready. That is where that blessing is found. So clearly you can see what God likes and you can see what he doesn't like from Romans. Do not be slothful in zeal. Be fervent in spirit. Serve the Lord. So being slothful is like slow and, you know, half dead, half asleep, just barely, you know, barely anything to you at all. You should have a fiery zeal for the things of God. Be fervent in spirit. Serve the Lord. So there shouldn't be, you know, this, oh, I'm a Christian, but, you know, oh, okay, so you're serving the Lord. Well, you know, I read and I pray and I attend church pretty regularly. Isn't that good enough? Do you think so, based on what we've read so far? Or is there something more that we're all supposed to be doing? Where does the Lord fit into your daily schedule? How much of your energy, your time, your feelings, your actions are devoted to the things of God? Or is it just a very, you know, there's a space carved out for it, but it's certainly not the most important thing. If that doesn't sum up America, I don't know what does. Because that's kind of what we've turned into. Oh, sure, we can have some God. That's nice. But as long as it doesn't cost me anything, as long as I don't have to miss anything or rearrange my life to really put him first. That is lukewarmness. That is apathy. And that is not something the Lord would have any of us be apathetic or lukewarm. So some ways to avoid apathy would, of course, be to keep first things first, which here's a scripture for that. But seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added to you. So if you read this whole passage, it talks about what to eat, where to live, what to wear. And these are things that people put first because they're like, well, I have to figure those things out and then I can kind of pursue God after I have those things ironed out. No. Put him first, and then he sees to it that all these things are taken care of. Do you believe him or not? Can you stand on the word and trust it or not? But if you go pursuing everything else and God comes last, you don't tap into these blessings and you don't even see him, his supernatural provision, which he promises. Instead, you're going to kill yourself trying to get things that he will bless you with if you just put him first, because he is a rewarder of those who genuinely seek him. And like we read earlier, you are blessed if he finds you doing what you're supposed to be doing when he comes. So just put him first. You really can't put God first and be apathetic or lukewarm at the same time. Either he's not first or you're not apathetic. If you are genuinely making an effort every day to keep him first, you can't be apathetic also. Apathy happens when you've kind of pushed him aside, whether you meant to or not, whether you were conscious about it or not, but you kind of did because everything else in life was just a bigger deal and was more pressing. And that's how you get apathetic and lukewarm. It usually it doesn't happen overnight. What's the thing? Backsliding. My pastor's dad says backsliding is not like blowing a tire. It is a small leak that over time you end up with a flat tire. So you don't notice it, but it happens over time. But if you make a conscious effort, no, I'm going to put him first. I'm going to live for him. I'm going to keep asking him what he wants me to do. What does he need done for his kingdom that I can be useful for? And understand that the time is short and we will give an account of ourselves. I don't know about you, but I want to be found doing what I'm supposed to be doing when he comes, because I can't get ready. I have to be ready. So keep him first. Another thing is to never be satisfied with where you are spiritually. And that, like we were kind of talking about at the end of that video, what that lady was saying is the devil will try to weaponize your faith against you. And then the verse, if anyone thinks he stands, take heed lest he fall. You have to be aware that you are capable of being deceived, and that you can get a false sense of security in what you think you know, because you're like, I am reading, I am studying, I am going to church regularly, I am, consuming good material all the time. So then you tend to think I'm pretty solid, I'm good. And then that can be your downfall, because that's where deception can come in, and you think you were immune to it, and you weren't. And you think that, or you become self-righteous, right? And religious. And so never be satisfied with where you are spiritually. Understand that there is no end to how far we can go into the things of God this side of eternity. We cannot even get the full revelation. I think if God was like, you know what, take everything I have, I'm going to reveal everything about me, I think you would explode. Like, you'd actually die. We can't take it in these bodies we have, which is probably one of the reasons we have to have glorified bodies, is we just can't do it. So there's always room for growth. No matter how well you may know the word, there's more you can get out of it. No matter how, I've been in church for 75 years. Okay, so you're done growing. You know everything. You've seen everything. No, never be satisfied with where you are. Keep reaching for more. Keep asking the Lord, I want more revelation. I want more understanding. I want to experience more of you. And if you keep doing that, you can't grow apathetic or lukewarm at the same time, because you continue to press into him. It's when you stop doing that, you get lukewarm. It's like, don't take your foot off the gas. If you shift your car into neutral, you're eventually going to come to a stop, right? But if you keep your foot on the gas, you're not going to stop. So keep reaching for more. Another thing, a big part of this is love and compassion. And this is something I've asked the Lord to help me with this, because I've lacked this. And I would say that I still do. Actually, at one point in my life, Christian at this, I did my job, made me hate people, and literally got to the point where I was like, I literally thought this. I was like, who cares about people? Like, what do they even matter? I don't need to have anything to do with anyone. I hate them. Why do they matter? And then right after I thought that, it hit me, and I was like, I felt like I got rebuked, because I was like, I realized God loves people. Everything he does has something to do with people. We are everything to him. So for me to have the attitude, who cares about people? I hate them. That is an antichrist. That is a satanic way to feel. And so I got rebuked for that. But even since then, love and compassion has been like a weak point of mine. I'm by default not a very compassionate person, and I'm aware of it. So I've asked the Lord to help me love people and to allow me to feel his compassion for people. And it has changed me. I'm still nowhere near where I should be, but I can tell you now that I cry all the time now. I actually might cry right now just thinking about some of the needs that people have, whether they're sick or there's some kind of mobility issue, or you can just tell they've been weighed down by a hard life. It breaks my heart now to see it. And I didn't used to be like that. There would be some things I'd be like, man, I feel bad looking at that, but not nearly to the same extent it is now. And that's evidence that the Lord has answered my prayer. The same way, if you ask for wisdom, he'll give you wisdom. I asked him, break my heart for the things that break yours. Let me feel your compassion and your love for people, because I know I need it. He has answered that, and he continues to work on me, and I can tell. And I hate crying. I wish that didn't have to come with it, but that's evidence of he is actually softening my heart toward people, and I need it. I need it. And it's impossible to be apathetic if you stay full of love and compassion for people. You can't be apathetic at the same time that you love and have compassion. You just can't, because they're like opposite things. Apathy is apathy is how I was, really. I don't have any feelings for you, whatever. I don't care about you. Love and compassion, I see your situation. I want to do something about it to help, that type of thing. And then the last thing to make sure you don't get apathetic is to stay awake. Like we read, he's coming very soon. And if you're kind of eagerly leaning forward, looking for that to happen, staying awake. This could happen at any time. You're conscious. You are not drowsy. You haven't gotten complacent. You understand you cannot become lukewarm. So if you stay awake and aware of his soon return, you can't grow apathetic at the same time. And notice that all of these things are not God's job. All of them are ours to pursue. Like I said, God's done everything he needs to do. He's provided everything that we could have ever needed to be the people that he wants us to be and do the things that he would have us do. He's provided it all, but we access those things by what we do and what we ask him for. For example, I can ignore all of this and just be like, well, I'm saved, so I'm glad for that. And then what's going to happen? I'm going to get, eventually become lukewarm. I'll get apathetic. I'll become complacent. So I have to do the work. I have to reach for more. I have to stay vigilant. I have to love people. I have to keep him first, or I'm asking for it, really. So it's not God's fault at all. Again, he doesn't move. He doesn't change. He stays the same. He is constant. I'm the one who I can separate myself from him. I can put a gap between us. I can allow things to get in front of him and take first precedent in my life. So it is up to me. It's not up to him. If he had things his way, we would never live a second without being conscious of him and trying to please him and live for him. But the problem is always us. In our flesh and in the world that we live in, we allow other things to get in between us. Let me read some more scriptures. I want you to notice the passion that's in this. As a deer pants for flowing streams, so pants my soul for you, O God. My soul thirsts for God, for the living God. This is not an apathetic person or a lukewarm person or a complacent person. This is a longing, a yearning for the things of God. There is passion in this. There is fire in this. There is something that all of us can get out of this. Do I see the Lord that way? Do I yearn after him in his presence? Or am I just like, well, I'm glad that I know him. That's good enough. No, this type of thing. And again, a lot of people have this when they first get saved, but it kind of grows, they grow cold. The fire starts to go out. But if you try to match this passion here, yeah, I want the things of God more than anything, then it's hard to become complacent if you're doing that. Here's a second one. Oh God, you are my God. Earnestly I seek you. My soul thirsts for you. My flesh faints for you, as in a dry and weary land where there is no water. So again, this is even like more extreme than the last one. Like, hey, I'm like dying of thirst in a desert, and I want you as badly as I want water. So that paints a picture of there's passion in that. There is a striving for, I will die trying to get to what I want. In this case, which is God. It's his presence. It's fellowship and communion with him. And if we would just stay this way, I would do anything. I'd walk over glass, hot coals, whatever, to be in the presence of God. And the amazing thing about that is he blesses you for it when you do that. So it's not even like that he answers, but there's like a blessing when you decide, I want to know you more. I want to press in. I want to please you. I want to live for you. What can I do that would facilitate what you want done? And he blesses you for it. When you put him first, there are blessings. It's not just like that you get what you asked for. He's like, I'll do the bare minimum because I have to. No, he's like, oh, you want to get to me? You're pressing in. You want more? I'm glad you asked. Take what you ask for and then take some more, because that's who he is. He is a rewarder when you diligently seek him. Next. Whom have I in heaven but you? And there is nothing on earth that I desire besides you. My flesh and my heart may fail, but God is the strength of my heart and my portion forever. Notice there's nothing on earth that I desire besides you. If we would all just feel that way and continue to remain that way, we would never grow apathetic, because there would be nothing that could captivate our attention to become more important or bigger in our lives than him, because there's nothing on earth that's even desirable in comparison to God. So aim to keep that passion that maybe you had only when you first got born again. And if you feel like you have grown cold, or man, I've kind of shifted down to lukewarm, I've gotten complacent, I don't know if he's really first anymore, I've kind of just, I've gone to sleep, I've gotten drowsy, ask him to help you, and he will. It's amazing. He will help you every time you call on him. Say, Lord, like me, my problem was love and compassion. And I said, I need help with this. I know that I'm supposed to be loving and compassionate in order to be what a Christian is supposed to be. In order to be pleasing to you, I need to love people, and I currently don't. I need to have compassion that I don't have. So I'm asking you to help me do a work. I'm giving you permission. Please do a work in my heart, because I know I need it. And he's been answering that. 100% he's been answering that. So if you're in the same boat as me, maybe you're, and maybe it's not, maybe love and compassion is easy for you, but maybe it's keeping him first, actually putting him first. That's your problem. Ask him to help you, and he will. Maybe it's, man, I really had passion and I had fire when I first got saved, but I just don't anymore. Ask him to reignite that fire, to revive that, and he will. What was the other thing? I made like a list. Oh, staying awake. If you're like, you know what, Lord, I don't know if I believe you are coming soon. I've been hearing that and I don't know. Ask him to help you remain vigilant. Ask him to help you stay awake, and to ask him, what is it that I'm supposed to be doing? Because what did that one verse say? Blessed is the man whom the Lord finds doing what he's supposed to be doing when he comes. So ask him, I don't know if I'm doing what you want me to be doing. Tell me what it is. Position me. Let me do that, because I want to be doing what I'm supposed to be doing when you come. And if I'm unaware of prophetically speaking what, where we're at or how close we are or whatever, help me stay awake and stay vigilant. I don't feel I've been watchful up to this point. Whatever it is you need out of these things, he will help you if you just ask him. Look at the next one from Jeremiah 29. You will seek me and find me when you seek me with all your heart. I will be found by you, declares the Lord. There is a promise. If you press in and you ask for him, he will show up. He answers, and he is happy to give you the things that you ask according to his will. He is a good father. Look at the next one. This is New Testament. Ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and it will be open to you. For everyone who asks receives, and the one who seeks finds, and to the one who knocks it will be open. So there is no such thing as, well, I asked the Lord, but I don't think it happened. No, you're misunderstanding something, because he's bound by his word. He is faithful to it. And if he spoke it in his word, you can stand on it. It is the most sure thing you will ever encounter in your life. He is always faithful. He cannot fail. He never will. So stand on his word, and you can hold him to it. Say, Lord, I asked you for this, and I expect to receive it, because you said, if I ask, I will receive. And he's like, yeah, that is exactly what my word says, and I will deliver every time. I pray that way when there's a specific thing. I quote scriptures when I'm praying. It's not that God needs to know them. It's his word. He knows it better than I do. But I am making my case. I'm making my appeal to him based on his word. And that's how I know I can't go wrong, because I'm holding him to what he said. And he's like, yes, it's what I've been trying to tell you guys. I'll do what I said I'll do. Just trust me. Do your part of it, because I will always do mine. Next. Therefore, let us leave the elementary doctrine of Christ and go on to maturity. So there's much more to Hebrews chapter 6 in that first passage than this, but I just wanted you to see the first part, which is we are supposed to go on to maturity. So back to what I was saying about never being content with where you are spiritually. Don't ever make the mistake of thinking you have the full revelation. Oh, well, I know I've read the Bible so much. I know it inside and out. What more could there really possibly be? As soon as you think that, you're already deceived, and you are being set up probably to become self-righteous, and you'll become apathetic about the things that you shouldn't be apathetic about because you think you got it all, and there's nowhere else to go. So you can just coast at this point. But that's not true. Go on to maturity. There's always a next level. There's always a next step. As long as you're here on earth as a human being, there is more for you in the things of God. Even people like Dr. Lester Sumrall, that man, I think at 17, he really started to preach. And then by the time he went to heaven at 86, still more for him to get, still more revelation, still more things to learn, still more things to do. Don't ever become, because that's how you get complacent. Oh, I've got it all. No, there's always more. Go on to maturity. Keep striving for more, and ask the Lord, what's next for me? Thank you that I've learned as much as I have. What's next? What don't I know about? What do I maybe think I know that isn't quite right? What would you have me? Would you want to highlight next in your word for me? What fresh revelation or new revelation is there? I want more. I want to go to the next level. I want the next step. If you feel that way and you keep reaching for more, you can't be apathetic at the same time. They don't coexist. It's when you stop reaching for more and you think you've already arrived, that's when you get complacent. Next. So you also, when you have done all that you were commanded, say, we are unworthy servants. We have only done what was our duty. So I put this one in there. It doesn't really have anything to do with apathy, but this is a reminder for us not to think too highly of ourselves than we ought, because even if, let's say, you've been obedient to everything the Lord told you to do, and you have sought him and kept him first all your life, what do you expect at that point? God's going to be wowed with you? No, you've only done what was your duty. And so we should always aim to do more than that, right? Okay, I did what was required. I've done everything that I believe you told me to do. Now what is the extra that I can do? How can I add to it? How start giving me more, like the talents. I took the 5 you gave me, immediately I went and made 5 more, and then what happened? He was given the one that was taken from the guy who did nothing with his. He buried it in the ground, and there was a rebuke. There was punishment for that. And he gave it to the one who had the 10. Why? Good work. Something Bishop Dag Haywood-Mills says, good work gets rewarded with more work. And that sounds bad because that has a negative connotation to it because most people don't like their jobs. And that does actually happen. If you're a good worker, what happens? You get more because they can trust you to do it. The lazy people, they're like, they can't even do what's required. So don't add anything else. It won't get done. But the person who does their job and does it well, give them the extra stuff to do because they'll do it. But in the kingdom of God, that is a blessing. He's like, yeah, I trusted you. You were faithful with a little. Now I'll set you over much. So continue to kind of the same way, reach for more. I've done what was commanded. Now what's next, Lord? I can take on more. I was faithful with a little bit. Now I would like to have more. And he's like, yes, take more. And that is the opposite of complacency. Next. Beloved, let us love one another, for love is from God, and whoever loves has been born of God and knows God. So this is back to love, how important it is that love is from God. And if, we're supposed to be the mirror images of him on earth. So it is impossible to be a good representative of God and to not love one another. And that was what stabbed me in my spirit when I realized how much I hated people and how ungodly and opposite of the nature of God that attitude is. And that's why I have to pray that God helps me love people, because that's been a very weak point in my life. And I understand if I say I know God and I love him and he's first in all these things, I can't not love people. The two things don't go together. So I realized the problem wasn't the people, even though it was, because they're being annoying or whatever, or Karens. The problem is me not loving. So I was the one who needed help, and still do, to be honest. Here's another one about love. A new commandment I give to you, that you love one another. Just as I have loved you, you also are to love one another. And that's the thing too, is it's not possible to be apathetic if you love someone, right? If I saw, take my husband, for example, if I saw anything happen to him, like he could cut his knife while he's dicing tomatoes, cut his finger with a knife. I'm not going to be apathetic about seeing his hand cut because I love him, which I would cringe if I saw it happen to anyone, but do I really I'm not going to react the same way. No, if I love a person, there's passion there. There's feelings there. There's a desire to help, if I can, give that person what they need. So you can't be lukewarm and just complacent if you actually love people. Loving someone will be wanting to tell them the truth. And also, it's not even, sometimes people are like, why can't Christians just, leave other people alone, respect if they don't want to be Christians? Okay, well, understand, as Christians, we know what happens if you die apart from Christ. And if I love or care about someone, I don't want them to go to hell. So I will tell you for your own benefit. And the second thing is, before you die, I want you to know the goodness of God in the same way that I've gotten to know it. I want you to have what I have because I know how wonderful it is. I want you to have the peace that I have. I want you to have the joy that I have. I just want you to know him like I do because it's so wonderful. And how can I keep something like that to myself? I would have to be apathetic to not feel the need to share it with other people. But I don't feel that way. This is actually all I want to talk about. I love talking about the Bible and the things of God and all that stuff because I have a passion for it, right? If I didn't have a desire to talk about these things, I would be concerned that I'm getting apathetic and I'm starting to become lukewarm because it's no longer like a priority to me. And I'm also not looking at other people thinking, gosh, if only they could just, have this encounter with Jesus everything would turn around, and I want that for their sake. I want them to experience that. I love it. I love when we have altar calls at church and people respond to them. And I cry pretty much every time because I'm so happy because I know what they're feeling, to feel the weight lifted off, to feel clean finally, I just know what it feels like. And then to take it another step, baptism. I know what that feels like too. And that's why I'm like, yes, I love that for them. I have no idea who they are, but I'm so excited that they've experienced the greatest thing there is this side of eternity. So that's not apathy, apathy is like, glad people are responding. In fact, the other churches are beating us to the restaurants. Can we just, hurry this altar call up? That's apathy. Please don't ever take that attitude. Love people. Here's another one. Put on then, as God's chosen ones, holy and beloved, compassionate hearts, kindness, humility, meekness, and patience. Notice, compassionate hearts. You can't be apathetic and compassionate at the same time. That's like an oxymoron. I'm an apathetic, compassionate person. No, you literally can't be. So ask the Lord for compassion if you don't have it, because that's what I had to do. Ask him for it because I didn't have it, and I still don't have it to the extent I would like to have it. It's much better because he's been answering and he's been helping me, but it's still nowhere near where it should be. Next. And he said to them, go into all the world and proclaim the gospel to the whole creation. So this is the Great Commission. If we took this seriously and actually did this, I'm talking in action. Obviously, not everybody's called to go into the whole world, but if proclaiming the gospel became a regular and very important thing to all of us, we would not become lukewarm, because that would mean that the expansion of the kingdom of God is more important than anything else. And honestly, that's like the easiest thing ever to do. It's easier to tell people about Jesus than it is to pray for the sick. That's uncomfortable. Like, In fact, the first time I prayed for someone for literally a miracle, I like didn't want to do it. I was like, this is weird. And the person's, who knows what they're going to think. But I thought, you know, I would be doing a disservice to this person when I know that God He is Jehovah Rapha, heals your body. He is a mighty healer. He is a great physician. He is a God of miracles. And his desire is to heal people, same way he desires to forgive people. And so I thought I would be doing a disservice to not pray for this person. And the thing is, there's no pressure on me for the miracle to happen, because it's not my power that does it, it's his. All the pressure's on God to perform it. My job is just to be obedient and to go to the sick person and lay my hands on them and pray for them. That's all that's required of me. So I thought, you know, it's not on me. So why would I be hesitant to do it? So I got over myself and did it. And the longer I prayed, the better I felt, because I was like, you know, this is what we're supposed to do for people. I'm not apathetic when I see somebody sick or struggling. I have a desire to see the Lord touch that person and raise them up, because that's compassion, which thank God for it, because I asked for it, because I needed it. So there, proclaiming the gospel. Next, this is about staying awake. Therefore, stay awake, for you do not know on what day your Lord is coming. But know this, that if the master of the house had known in what part of the night the thief was coming, he would have stayed awake and would not have let his house be broken into. Therefore, you also must be ready, for the Son of Man is coming at an hour you do not expect. So that's back to kind of what we're saying. You can't get ready. You have to be ready. Obviously, he's going to come when you don't expect him. So that suggests being ready. The same way I may have weapons on hand. In the event somebody wants to break into my house, I'm ready, because you're going to come when I'm not expecting it, right? So there's, you can't become drowsy. You can't become, actually this verse is perfect, because I was going to say you can't scoff about it. And this is literally the next one I have here. Knowing this, first of all, that scoffers will come in the last days with scoffing, following their own sinful desires. They will say, where is the promise of his coming? For ever since the fathers fell asleep, all things are continuing as they were before the beginning of creation. So this is basically, and I've heard people do this, and these are Christians. Well, you know, every generation has said, the Lord is coming soon, and look, he hasn't come yet, has he? Scoffing about it, right? But this is talking about kind of, it's considered sin. It says these are people following their own sinful desires. So if you as a believer are commanded to stay awake, then you have no business scoffing instead and aligning yourself with what the sinful desires are of these people. Stay awake, be ready, be vigilant. And that will also keep you from getting lukewarm, because you understand, I can't afford to. He could come next week. And am I ready? If I'm not, I better get ready today. He could come before I wake up in the morning. Stay awake, be ready. And whatever you do, don't scoff at the fact that, you know, basically what these people were doing in 2 Peter there that he's writing about. The charge to you and I is to be ready, to be watchful. So to recap, just don't ever lose the fire. If you feel you have, I'll tell you what, I did. I had some fire. I had a passion for the things of the Lord. And then it really did just burn out. It burned out in my 20s. And I don't know, I allowed myself to get, I guess other things became bigger. And I was like, well, you know, yeah, I know the Lord loves me and it's great to know him and all this stuff. But like, I don't have these other things in life that I want. So I allowed the disappointment in other areas of my life to get too big. And that then made me just lose my passion, and my fire went out. And so I'm trying to think, what changed things now, how did I get the fire back into a much greater extent than I ever had in my life? It was the church that I am now attending. I'm excited to go. I love being in the house of the Lord. I love worshiping the Lord. There is an excitement and a joy to it. And also, I barely watch movies or TV anymore, and I don't even listen to music. And I like I know he's horrible, but I like Bad Bunny. I like Latin music. I even like country. I like Nickelback. If you think Nickelback sucks, you're wrong. Nickelback is great. But I like all kinds of music, and I like all kinds of movies and TV shows. I barely even, once in a blue moon, I'll be like, I want to watch a movie. But normally I listen to preaching and worship, praise and worship. That's about it. And that has completely changed what is most important to me and what actually is first in my life. And there's a fire. And also, too, part of it is it's like everyone at my church is like a soul winner. All of them care so much about people not going to hell. It is the most important thing to them. So the fact that that's what I'm around all the time, I by default have just absorbed what's in my environment, and I realize how important those things are. So if you've lost fire, check your environment for one thing. And if you're not encouraged to be passionate about the Lord, I would change where you're at. Because you will just by proxy start to get what the people around you have. So if there's no fire or passion, I would go somewhere else. You don't need to be, disrespectful about it. Just put your relationship with the Lord first. Who cares what your mom thinks? Because, well, we've gone to the same church for 30 years. Okay, mom, and it's dead, and I actually want more. So I'm sorry if that offends you, but I'm going here because I'm actually I'm going to grow here. I'm going to mature here, and I'm going to have fire here. So mom can get over it, and also ask the Lord, I don't have the passion I once had. I don't have any fire at all, and I want it. I ask you to give me your fire. Please, I want more. I want you to ignite something in me that I don't have. And then, have a passion for souls. Like we talked about the Great Commission. Ask the Lord to give you boldness and opportunities to share the gospel with people who need it. And yeah, another thing my mom and I were talking about, sometimes if you go out to witness or something, you'll run into people who are like, cuss you out. I want nothing to do with that. Or you're a weirdo. Leave me alone. You'll run into some of that. But for every person like that, there may be someone who's like, this is exactly what I needed to hear. Yes, I want a relationship with Jesus. My life is falling apart. I'm on the brink of suicide or something. This is just what I need. They were like primed. It's like a divine appointment. So ask the Lord to align you, to position you, give you boldness to speak the truth, and go after souls. Because at the end of the day, that is the only thing that can go to heaven with you is other people. And that is the most important thing to the Lord is people coming into the kingdom of God. He wants everyone reconciled to himself. So you cannot go wrong going after the thing that God is also going after. And then back to never being satisfied with where you're at spiritually. Don't think you've grown enough or you have the full revelation. Continue to reach for more and ask the Lord, what's next? First of all, am I deceived in any way, Father? If I am, I ask you to lift that deception and show me what the truth is instead, and give me the grace to align myself with the truth. Give me the grace to change my position on something if I need to. There's a Catholic guy. I love him. I could not say a bad thing about him. I ran into him. That was this week, actually, the beginning of the week. And I hadn't seen him in a long time. So he came over and we were talking for a minute, so we'd had some discussions. Obviously he's a Catholic and I'm not. And there are reasons I'm not Catholic, things I don't agree with. No disrespect at all to any Catholics. It's just, I can't find them in the Bible, So anyway, we've gone back and forth, and he said, hey, I wanted to apologize and thank you for something you said that got me thinking. And then I researched it and I realized you were right. And I just had missed it. And I said, wow, I didn't really remember us arguing. But I said, well, that's awesome. That's great. I'm glad or whatever. And I said, I know what you're saying though. I said, I've been praying this year for the Lord to show me if I'm deceived in any way. And I want him to remove that deception. And I want nothing but the truth in every situation, especially when it comes to his word. I've been praying that way because it's important to me to have the truth. And the thing is, sometimes when you encounter the truth, you're going to find out you've been on the wrong side of something, and that's uncomfortable. And that can be, that can shake your foundation, your entire worldview. You can be, oh my gosh, my parents taught me wrong. I'm wrong. I taught my kids wrong. So that's like a big deal, right? And that's why a lot of people I don't even want to know. I'd rather be comfortable where I'm at than have to make those kind of changes. And I don't ever want to be like that. I want the truth. And if it requires me to change my position, then I ask the Lord's grace to change my position. So I was telling him that. And he got all excited because I think he thought oh, she's going to convert to Catholicism. And I thought, no, I'm actually less likely to become Catholic now than I was 2 years ago when I first talked to him. But anyway, it was just, I told him, I said, I respect you very much for the fact that you didn't immediately reject something that you were unfamiliar with, or what you didn't already, it wasn't a predetermination or something you already believed. You didn't just reject it. And he's in school to become a priest, right? So he didn't take the attitude, I'm going into ministry. There's no way she knows something I don't know, or I missed it. He didn't take that attitude. He thought, I'm going to look into this. And then he saw there was scriptural support for it. And he was like, so I changed my position. I said, God bless you. You have the humility to do something many other Christians don't have. So that being said, none of us should ever take the attitude of if that were true, I would know about it by now because I've been in church all my life. We should always, always, always be aware you can be deceived, and it takes effort to not become deceived. And the way to not be deceived is to stay in the word. And even as you stay in the word, ask the Lord to help you receive nothing but the truth. And if there is deception, to remove it from you and have the grace to align yourself with the truth, because sometimes it takes a change of position for us. So keep reaching for more. Work is unto the Lord. Commit your way to him. Again, seek him first. Put him first in your life. And if that means you lose a relationship or you got to burn some bridges, do it. There is nothing worth holding on to that would keep you from walking in complete obedience with the Lord and actually putting him first. He will bless you more than anything you could have gotten out of that situation or from that person if you kept it ahead of him. His word promises all these things will be added to you if you seek him first. And you cannot be apathetic if you are currently seeking him first. That you can't be lukewarm and desire and trying with everything in you to put him first at the same time. They don't work together. And then, if you feel like you have apathy or you've gotten lukewarm, I don't even know what I wrote down there. It doesn't make sense. Anyway, if you've gotten apathetic or lukewarm, and we read what he thinks of that, doesn't like it, it's repulsive to him, ask him to remove the apathy from you. And oftentimes apathy will go even without an act of God if you change your environment, if you change what you listen to, if you start taking steps to put him first and to seek him first and go after souls the way that he wants you to, and to have love and compassion for people, apathy will go on its own. But it doesn't hurt to ask him to help you with it. You'd be like, because, and the truth is sometimes people don't even feel like, they're like, I know the right thing is to desire like this closeness with God, but I don't even know that I want that. And that, I get it. When I was early on, I was like, I don't know if I love you. Like, if I'm just being honest, I was like, I don't know if I desire. I would hear other people talk about it. I would do anything to be in the presence of the Lord. And I was like, I just don't really feel that way. So that's kind of a flesh thing. And that can fall away, and that can be reduced the more you intentionally put yourself in the presence of God, whether it is through prayer and reading, fasting, or just getting into a church that is full of the fire of God, that will start to change you as well. And you will see how exciting it is to serve him and know him. I had a couple videos on apathy, but I think I've covered it, so I'm not actually going to play them. They're really short, but I think I covered them. And the last thing I'll say is keep in mind the times in which we live. We are very near the end, and you have to, as we, like Lester Sumrall, he knew it was near the end of his life, and so he was more concerned than ever with pleasing the Lord, being obedient in every way he was called to, and saying everything the Lord wanted him to say, doing everything the Lord would have him do, because he knew my time to stand before him is near. And if we would understand that too, the Lord is coming very soon. There's nothing stopping him from coming right now. I'm going to give an account of myself. How can I be doing what I'm supposed to be doing when he comes? Because that will please him. And there's a blessing in that for me. To say nothing of the fact that other people are at stake. And you may be the only person who will ever tell them about Jesus. But if you're apathetic and you don't care, they might die and go to hell because no one ever told them. Like that girl that testified in my church, she said, I was going to church all my life. I went to the same church because all my family was there, but it was dead. And I never planned to leave because I just thought, all my family's here. How can I leave? And she said, no one ever told me. I grew up in church. I was in church, and no one ever told me about that there's more. That there's this excitement and this passion and this fire that I should have, and there's soul winning and all these things. No one told me. No one told me. And so there are even people like that. So we have a responsibility to share what we have and to partner with the Lord to do his work, because we are what he works through to have his will done on this earth. He works through people. And so if the people don't do it, it doesn't get done. So let me pop up my graphics and we're going to call it a day. There are the ways to find me. Amber Alert Podcast. Instagram should be live now. I actually, since I got kicked off earlier, I don't know how that affected everything. I think it's the same live stream. There's just going to be a little gap where I literally had to restart my entire computer because that one video was causing problems. I don't know what that was about. My apologies for that dead air. Anyway, I will post this to Substack when I get done. It should automatically post to YouTube and Rumble. I'll post X and Facebook. There's my email address if you need to get a hold of me. And then this one, if you want to support, those are the ways that you can do it. PayPal, most people use. I don't really use Venmo that much. I think Cash App is slightly communist, but that doesn't mean that it wouldn't work. So you can do it through any of those three ways. The email address under PayPal is also the same one where you can get a hold of me. So if you have a business and you want to be a sponsor or something of that nature, email me and we can talk about it and figure something out. Why is my husband calling me when he knows I'm currently live? That is the second time he's tried to call me, and I know he knows I'm down here broadcasting because he literally came in this room and saw me broadcasting live. So I don't know why he's calling me. Clearly, I'm still live, but I will go here in a minute and see what he's doing. That's it for episode 64. God bless you. I hope you reach for more for your own sake. Reach for more because the goodness of God is on the other end of you, of your desire to have more. It is so much more exciting than many people know. It is exciting to serve the Lord, to be in his house, to be in his presence, to live for him. It is the most exciting thing I have ever known. And I used to be an alcoholic. That was that people drink to have a good time. I'm telling you, nothing makes you feel better than being in the presence of God. Nothing. So please reach for more. God bless you. Have a great weekend. I will see you in episode 65. Goodbye.